Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Britton Social Club, where we convene at the end of the week after the end of a very long, intense week in the workforce, whatever you want to call it. Uh, anyway, I hope everyone's doing well. I had a pretty crazy week myself. Not in terms of a bunch of stuff happened, but a bunch of stuff did not happen. It was kind of frustrating, honestly. Uh, so yeah, here I am. Hope everyone's doing well, and always glad to be here and hang out for a while. So yeah, here we are. Well, there we go. Okay, we'll just roll with that for a bit. And as always with this show, if you want to join in, if you want to hang out for a bit, you can feel free and go on ahead and do that. Hello, Tharnal. How are you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Glad to see everyone is starting to show up. So that's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. And Raph's here. How you doing, Raph? Max said he wanted to join in today, so Mac will probably be coming in soon. And I mean, Raph might come in if he wants to. As always, if you want to join in, link is down in the description. So if you want to come in and hang out for a bit, you definitely can. So just got back from church, fun stuff, Raph says I'm a wreck though. I'm just saying you don't have to come in if you don't want to. You can't just comment, but if you want to, it's fine. I was thinking because I got some Guinness this weekend because I'm going to be doing a show with my friends Carlos and Yolanda talking about The Searcher, which is a book from Tana French. I don't know, but she wrote a book called The Searcher. So I'm going to be talking with them because Carlos and Yolanda are from Ireland, right? And I bought some Guinness for the occasion because they're Irish and they like Guinness, so I got some Guinness. But Carlos got sick, so we couldn't do it this weekend. So maybe next weekend we'll do it. And yeah, that was not fun. That was $11. Those cans I got. I did think about drinking one of them today, but I'm like, you know what? I don't want to get absolutely just hammered. So I'm just chilling right now. Anyway, so yeah, we're just we're hanging out today, doing a thing. What is everyone reading? If you don't mind my asking, well, obviously. If you want to know what I'm reading, hold on a second. I am reading The Star's My Destination from one Alfred Bester, which is a good old-fashioned pulp romp, if you want to call it that. Definitely going to be probably one of those books. The Guinness pub cops are the most dangerous force in the universe. This is definitely one of those books I'm probably going to respect more than I actually like. It's definitely a book that's influential in science fiction. Then again, I am only like a part into it, so it could actually pick up as the book's going along. Hello, Joe. How you doing? It's pretty solid though. It's not bad. It's just it's interesting, reading this and going like, it's very pulpy. I'm also reading The Maltese Falcon, which I'll be doing a discussion with Sam over at iSamwise about it. It's actually be fun. Which, by the way, that was not intentional. That just someone pointed it out to me last night that there's kind of an irony that I'm going to be talking about the Maltese Falcon with my friend Sam, and the main character of the Maltese Falcon is called Sam. His name's Sam Spade, and I'm still reading Hawkeye by Matt Fraction, which is a lot of fun. And as someone who complains constantly about pacing in comic books, I'm really glad to see a writer and an artist who know what they're doing because it's fast paced, but it's not shallow, which is really nice. Um, but nonetheless, very annoying when you see bad pacing in comic books. But as someone who complains often about pacing, when you see good pacing, it's really nice. So there you go. We up to this fine day. So anyway, that's what I'm reading. I'm sure Joe. I'm sure Joe can um relate to my complaining about pacing in comic books, or maybe he's fine. Maybe he doesn't care about it. I don't know. But um, went to a beer festival yesterday. Hope you're doing okay, Joe. Yeah, I was. I had Joe on. Yeah, about a week ago now, talking about Shadow of Hyperion, which you should go check out. It was a fun conversation. And I'm like, it's kind of it's kind of like you're kind of like a less edgy Garth Ennis. You're just most of your if you didn't have a plot, like most of your stories would be like going to the bar, like most of Garth Ennis stuff. And he's like, I don't think many people are as edgy as Garth Ennis. So there you go. Anyway, well played, Raph. Well played. But anyway, but yes, I do have Guinness on massive cans. I got them for like $11 at the local liquor shop, which is crazy. So there you go. And John's here. How you doing, John? Uh yeah, they have the George W. Bush beer. Hold on, I'm trying to find something. Oh, Mac is here. Hello, Mac. How you doing? Uh Hope everyone's doing well. Everyone's showing up. For some reason, John, they mute your comments on my comment section. I'm not doing that. I don't know why. I don't know why YouTube does that. So yeah, your comments are showing up here, but when you show up on my channel, I'm just kind of like, what the. Anyway, so that's what I'm up to. But yes, that's what I'm reading at the moment. I've heard it does I heard it did influence a lot of like cyberpunk, like a lot of science fiction fantasy writers really like Stars My Destination. So like M. John Harrison and Samuel Delaney, who's actually blurbed on the side here. Also, why Neil Gaiman, who did the introduction of my copy. Um, a lot of people. Michael Moorcock really likes it. William Gibson really likes it. So it's a lot of people. That's what I'm trying to get at. A lot of people really like um, a lot of people really like this book. Yeah, no, that's the thing. If I go to newest first, they'll show up. I don't know. It's really weird, but I don't know how YouTube works. I mean, I kind of do, but Anyway, I already got 8 people in here. Probably 7 because I'm one of those people. Because I like to keep tabs on the video. Anyway, oh man. So I did the "Where You From" tag the other day, and I posted up on YouTube. And I was thinking about tagging Raph because I was like, yeah, I like tagging Raph and stuff. Turns out Raph already did it, so that didn't work out. But it's all good. Yeah, where is Ida? She likes coming to these things. Yeah, it's funny. I friended her up on Oh, there she is. There you go. it's like it's like Beetlejuice. You say her name enough times, she'll pop up. That's great. I love this. That's a good point. I'm actually thinking about reading some Jenny Wirtz this year, at least one of her standalones. I'm probably going to read To Ride Hell's Chasm first because it's a standalone and it's not that big of a commitment. So, doing my thing. I'm actually kind of excited to talk to Mac because, like, Mac's one of the smartest people I've met on here. Like, he's just like, I talked with Philip Chase about his Adan books, and then here comes Mac in the comment section to point out all the references he picked out. Which, speaking of Adan, I did get in the mail While Darkness Gathers, which is the new this book. I'm very much looking forward to reading it and then talking with Philip about it, going back to the world of Adan because I really liked the Adan trilogy. It was really good. Chasm. Interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you, Raph, for pointing that out. Yeah, no. Hopefully she won't say anything too crazy. That'll cause me to have a nervous breakdown like last week where she was like, "Oh, economy is a pseudoscience." I'm like, "What?" And then Raph's like, "Yeah." And then I'm like, I had a bit of a breakdown, but it's okay. It's okay, Ida. We're all good. But it's chasm. That's interesting. So we're all just mispronouncing it on YouTube. That's so fitting, honestly. Oh man. I'm also going to be reading Gloriana at the beginning of May. So, that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if anyone's read Gloriana here. Like, if Raph hasn't read it, I'd be very surprised. Like, that's the only person I feel would who's probably at least has an opinion. It's okay, Ida. It's okay. I still love you. It's fine. It was off screen, if that makes you feel any better. But anyway. So yeah, what's everyone else reading at the moment? Well, Joe says that he just is almost done with book 2 of the Adan trilogy. Book 2 is very good. Book 3 is very good too. And you know what? I bet that While Darkness Gathers is gonna be fun too. Just a guess. I don't know. Oh, it doesn't have an audiobook? Really? That surprises me. Like that's like Gloriana is one of those books like most people consider that like the single best thing that, Moorcock has ever done. That's crazy. It doesn't have an audiobook? I'll have to see if it's on Audible. Let me see. Gloriana. Audible. It is not on. That is crazy. Wow. Okay, we do have a guest in here, and it's someone we know. Usually in the comments. It's Mac. How you doing, Mac?
Hello, Britton. How nice to see you, finally.
It's nice to see you, well, as close to face as we can get at the moment.
Yeah,
I was just bragging about how I was just telling everybody how, I would talk to Philip Chase about one of his books, and then you'll show up in the comments and go like, "Here's all these little references I picked out." I'm just like, this is nuts.
Yeah. Well, as you say, what is the usual phrase? Long-time listener, first-time caller. So it's really nice to be here. It's just been a busy. I haven't thought of perhaps joining earlier, but it's just been really busy year, and finally got a break, and then I was like, yeah, why not join?
Well, glad to have you here, my friend.
Yeah.
I always enjoy reading your long comments about all the stuff you've read.
Yeah, I'm notorious for that. I know. So,
Maybe it's just because like Moorcock is just that weird like punk rock dude. I'm actually friends with Moorcock on Facebook, by the way. I'm not saying like
Oh,
we're
really?
friends or
Really?
anything, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he goes under an assumed name. I don't want to dox him here
No,
on
no, 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 no,
YouTube.
no, no, no.
But yeah, for some
Yeah.
reason he always posts in like all caps. It's really weird. But aside from that, we've mostly had good conversation. That's weird though that he's not on. He doesn't have many audiobooks. I don't know. Maybe he's just like so like punk rock. I guess he doesn't get audiobooks. I don't know.
I mean, I would have thought at least the Elric books would be that famous enough that would be just a instant moneymaker to have audiobooks of those. But then again,
Well,
if we have to be, yeah.
Well, Rev says he did get Elric a few years ago, so I have seen Elric around. So I don't know.
Mm.
What are you reading, Mac, at the moment? Since you're here.
Let me see. I am just about finished. I don't know if you will give it its reversed order, but I'm just about to finish The Year the Horse Came by Mary Mackey, which is sort of a 90s. I don't know quite to put it as historical fiction or historical fantasy, but it's essentially set around the Indo-European migration in the 4,000 years before Christ. So it's a lot again, and it's it's very much based on the idea of, not to go too deep into esoteric archaeology and so forth, but there was this theme, the idea of old Europe that was sort of matriarchal and communal, and then sort of the Indo-European came from the steppes on riding on horses, and as this warrior culture came in with patriarchy and so forth, and it's very based on that. So, but I think it's a fun read. I had read one Mackie book before. I don't remember the name, but she's a fun writer. Yeah.
Are you still reading the what are those? It's not the Hornblower book. It's the other one, the one that was made in the Master and Commander books. Are you still reading those?
Yeah. Yes, I don't have them right here, but I'm planning to read the second and third book in this summer. Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
So,
okay.
Yeah. By all means. And I can see. I also have.
Oh yeah,
of course.
I don't know if you saw it, but I just got that in the mail.
Yeah, I saw
it. Oh man, I'm so ready. I'm so ready. It's gonna be a summer read.
Yeah, I think. Well, I wouldn't say that the Adan trilogy was exactly left a lot of threads or something. It is nice to be back. It is nice to be back in the world of Adan. Yeah, definitely. Speaking of Adan, I do actually have to, when we've talking, this is so glitzy. I think you already saw it there. I have the special edition by the broken binding of the Way of Adan. So I think I actually got, I don't know, I even got to meet Philip Chase when he was visiting Scandinavia, actually.
Oh yes, I think I remember him talking about that.
Yeah. So I even got to see the. Perhaps get
to see the Tweed in person. Very nice.
Yeah, Mr. Tweed. Yeah. He's a really awesome fellow, and I still owe him a taco, and especially in Norway, that's expensive. So I really have to make sure that I do him justice. But I got to see some previews of the illustrations from this, so that was really nice. Really cool. Nice of him to do. So
Liam's here. Hello. I actually saw your video this morning, Liam, where you were talking about Kraken, which is an interesting first choice for me. I would have probably told you to go read The City in the City, but I'll be honest with you though, Liam. I did start it in 2020, but that was when I got really depressed, so I quit reading it. But I remember
something tells me well, it's not the best to read when you're depressed.
It's a fun book. It was just kind of like, okay, yeah, I'll put this down for now and get back to it, and I haven't done it yet. So it's been 6 years.
Yeah. I have to admit, one other reason why I kind of wanted to join this today is that I think I have done one chat with with Professor Chase when he was discussing his trilogy, the Adan trilogy, when it came out, because he did his videos with both writers and fans of the series and to discuss it. And I was one of them. And he has actually invited me to join his Guy Gerald K read through this later this year.
Oh yeah,
so I thought it was
about that.
Yeah, and last time it was so many technical difficulties, so I thought perhaps I should do a test run before for us who are not that technical into the YouTube. So there's a reason why I don't do videos. Let's just say that.
Yeah, no, I saw you did videos on your channel, but like they're like
it's PowerPoint presentations essentially.
Yeah, I was about to say, they're basically PowerPoint presentations. I'm like, well, this sucks. Well, it doesn't suck. It's very well.
They suck, but again, it was more that okay, I have this idea, I have to get it out somehow, and it was just a way to me to get that out of the system more than it's a finished project that should and I think do justice to Geiger.
Oh, we read Embassy Town first. Interesting. I read that a few years ago and was kind of let down with it, but you know, speaking of, we got another guest in here who's a constant guest on the show. You know him, you love him. At least I think most of the time you do. Raph, how you doing, Raph?
Hey guys, sorry my voice is kind of fucked. I'm doing good. I'm just very, very wrecked. Need something.
We're doing beverages there. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Just
cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, I almost put one of those big cans of Guinness I got the other day, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna save that for next week.
Yeah. No, two of my friends are getting married, so they had the traditional German pre-wedding party yesterday. I was there until 6 this morning when I took a train back from Dortmund to Marburg. So I arrived here around 11.
Oh my God.
Is when I
I've been to Germany, so I know that the railway service can be an interesting exploration.
No, it was actually fine. Like all trains were on time. It just takes 4 hours to get from one city to the other. That's just, it wouldn't be faster by car. I mean, maybe slightly, but only slightly. So it was all good. It's just, very little sleep.
But to be fair, as a Norwegian, I'm used to, like, I live on an island. If the ferry doesn't go, we're stuck here. So I remember we were on a train in Germany and it was like an hour delay and people were moaning like it was asked to go into a prison or something, and it was like, okay, yeah.
No, complaining about German trains is definitely a very popular pastime in Germany. I think, like, what's interesting is that people who use trains regularly don't necessarily complain because mostly it's fine. It's gotten worse over the last couple of years because, privatizing infrastructure leads to problems, as we, have found out over the years, I think. But, mostly it's fine. It's just, but like the German, do you guys have the same either in the US or Norway? What we have before a wedding, not the stag night or hen night or whatever, but like the couple.
We have train systems, but not like where I'm at. That's mostly in like New York and Baltimore, and we took a lot. When I went to DC when I was a kid, my parents and I took the train a lot. So
it's so fascinating because
it's a thing, but it's not like a thing out here in the Midwest.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me because, like, in my what we like, the classic Western movies and novels, like trains are such an emblematic American thing, and then you just decided to just stop doing trains.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a given in America, Yes. I'm sorry, my boss was texting me about working tomorrow. I'm like, I will do that. What was I trying to say? Oh yeah, It's kind of a given American thing where we start something, we get bored with it, and then we just stop.
But you did the one thing that I really love, and if you don't know about it, Britton, I urge you to look it up. The Crash at Crush.
Crash at Crush?
Crush, Texas, where people decided to have two steam locomotives run head-on into each other for entertainment.
Yeah, not gonna lie, that just sounds like monster trucks before monster trucks. So that sounds very
it was 1890s, right?
yeah, that makes sense.
And tens of thousands of people came to see two steam locomotives run into each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I was actually talking with Brian over at Bookish on my podcast the other day. I don't know if you guys watch his channel. Well, I'm sure Raph knows who he is because I know I've seen him comment on his fascism video. But
oh yeah, the Bookish Texan, right?
Yeah. And we were talking about...
I'm currently arguing with some very dubious person in his comments on his video where he wants to talk to conservative booktubers, and a guy who's calling his channel Political Risk Analysis, and calls himself a conservative pagan and has videos on the politics of Odinism, claims that all of booktube is leftist. And as a leftish kind of person, I beg to differ.
I
don't think it's leftist.
I haven't watched that video yet, but anyway, we were talking about weird Americanisms the other day on my podcast, and we're like, man, the South was weird, like, it's one of those places where, like, if you got mad at somebody, you could just go over and shoot them, and people, like, not even just with the like black people where you see like a black dude walking around, some white people get like, hey there, boy, let's you got some papers, and even if they have the papers, sometimes they'll just hang you just because it's the South was a crazy place.
There's reasons why why Hitler took inspiration from the American South, right?
Just to finish a thought, because I was talking about before you came on, Raph. I was talking about that I might be joining Philip Chase's Guy Gavriel K.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
So most likely, I've said I could. Most likely, it will be his Under Heaven, which is based on the Anlushan rebellion in the Tang Dynasty, China.
Yeah.
Which I'm looking very much forward to, because without spoiling too much, I could just say the opening is that's one of the things that should really be taught at literary courses, right next to Les Miserables and War and Peace. I literally mean that, because it is such a fascinating opening.
Yeah, I necessarily wouldn't, I wouldn't teach Les Miserables is what I'm saying. I don't think it's that good, but I know it's fine. I just have personal beef with Victor Hugo. I don't like him.
You have a beef with a dead man? Okay.
Beef with dead men is the best beef because they can't argue back.
Like me with H.P. Lovecraft, I was ranting about him like 2 weeks ago, and then someone else like last week was like, "Oh, how about that H.P. Lovecraft guy?" And I was like, I just talked about this, but it's all good.
Yeah, I still need to read more Guy Gavriel K. Yeah, I still need to read more Guy Gavriel K. I've only read the Fionavar Tapestry, which I really like. I think it's underappreciated by people.
Yeah, I think so. But I think to be fair, it is more of what we would call today young adult fiction. It is, and that's one of the reasons. We can't base it quite at the same, as his more adult literature.
And I've read Tigana. I mean, I started like a video series where I was trying to use Guy Gavriel K novels to explain different ways of reading fantasy, and I went all the way to Tigana, and then I started A Song for Arbonne, and then I got distracted by something. I also really didn't like the relatively unnecessary blowjob throne room scene. Relatively at the once the perspective switches to the northern France, right?
Yeah.
Again, it felt unnecessary and also like very. So my problem is like I did for in university, I had to write a term paper on the Albigensian Crusade, so I know stuff, and look,
Yeah,
it was a political project by northern France, like the around Paris, obviously, but they aren't just it felt too on the nose. Like, look at this guy, he's a bad guy, he just wants power, so he has his nobleman's wife suck him off in front of everyone. I'm like, yeah, come on. you can be slightly
it's
less...
okay, Canadians, they have a certain European sensibility.
No. Like, my point is, like, it was like Guy Gavriel Kay can be way more subtle about the whole thing.
Yeah, of course.
And it felt too on the nose. Like, look, I don't necessarily
it's
like
not his
them.
deepest book on his villain and so forth. That's he has much more interesting villains than but I would say that Blaze is still perhaps the main character of A Song for is still my favorite, because most time the thing about Guy Gavriel Kay, most of his characters is typically people who are cultured or are artists and so forth, and Blaze is not that.
That's true.
He's so fed up with all these decadent and
all those fucking troubadours,
and then he starts to evolve, and that's one of the things that he is the character that actually evolves very, very well, and and it's not like, oh, the Southerners are 100% right, but like his it becomes a synthesis there. His perspectives changes.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm definitely getting back to it. Don't get me wrong. It's like it's just.
But I get it.
Yeah.
Again, unnecessary sex scenes and Guy Gavriel Kay, they are like.
I mean, weird sex stuff and fantasy is kind of like peanut butter and chocolate at this point.
Yeah.
No, I think the first problem is that writing sex scenes is very much like humor. It's very difficult to do in the sense that because it is so personal.
That it works universally, at least, because again, there are also different sensibilities. As a Scandinavian, we will have completely different sensibilities on this than, say, an American will have. And that's just to say, and even in America, I mean, I was, and again, Germans, God damn it. I mean, even I feel like slightly dirty when I get to Germany, and like, what on earth are you doing this for? It's like,
but even within Germany, there's a marked difference between East Germany and West Germany.
That I get it. Yeah. And I would also think Bayern is very different than the North, also in that matter. Yeah.
That also, but like definitely, you can see the effects of the partition in a lot of ways. That socialist Germany is far less inhibited when it comes to nudity and stuff. Like all the nude beaches are like a big East German thing in a lot of ways. Because opening up sexuality in a lot of ways was a socialist project as well, right? What with gender equality and stuff like that. So you have. I think that's part of it. Actively sort of like trying to overcome elements of the patriarchy, I guess, in one way or another. So not necessarily all good, but I think that part is like when it comes to gender roles, East Germany was very much ahead of West Germany in a lot of ways, which, once both parts unified, all the well-educated women all moved to West Germany because there was more money to be made.
Yeah, I mean, it's always this joke, when the Berlin Wall opened, where did people go? It was west, So it's but speaking of, what I would, I've also been reading through the Wolf Den trilogy by Elodie Harper, which is again a historical fiction set in Roman Pompeii. So it's let's just say. Again, it's also set in sort of a red light district. So I was just imagine that, it's, I would say she's not that graphic about it. I mean, it is very clearly what happens, but it's more focused on, for example, I would say the main villain, the owner of the brothel that she
Yeah.
comes from, it's very clearly that, he was a male prostitute himself, and was
Yeah.
brutalized, and essentially, and there's this other male prostitute that is most likely it's going to go exactly the same way. So there is sort of this vicious cycle of brutalization in that. Again, Roman society, again, it's very let's just say, I mean, that's the fun part about Roman society again, because when Pompeii was excavated, virtually every place that showed some erotic art was considered a brothel. And
Yeah.
obviously there were brothels there, but in many places it was sort of more like fine art, or and not the least as propaganda. And it was a lot of the Rome TV series is excellent at showing how graffiti and of that would not have. You could just imagine the prehistoric AI videos of today, politician book out there, like they are, yeah.
I mean, it's a constant in both life and art. So, no, and just to be clear, I personally don't mind Guy Gavriel Kay's sort of more or less necessary sex scenes. I thought the mild bondage stuff in Tigana, for example, worked really well, because it did like thematically add to what he was trying to do, right? Like, I get that. It's like, do I find it hot? Maybe not, but that's a personal thing. But I didn't. Not a.
Geez, Raffi.
No. But my point is that specific scene with that specific aspect of sort of like it ties into the form of repression and so forth that Tigana deals with, like and imperial oppression, right? It works well in that regard. I just felt like that the scene at the beginning of well, not the beginning, but like a bit into a Song for Arbonne didn't do that, or it did that in like a very, very like, yeah, it was too blunt for Guy Gavriel Kay. It's like, dude, you can have your sex scenes, just if you want to tell me that the French are monsters, there's better ways to do that, right? It just felt too crude in that regard. But I'm definitely getting back. I already bought books. I'm going to listen to all of them. It's just a matter of time.
It's funny. I'm one of my goals this year is to read more standalone fantasy, and I just kind of neglect.
Guy Gavriel Kay is
he's the king of it. He's the king
I
of
know.
it.
I kind of neglected to add Guy Gavriel Kay, and it's weird because
to put it mildly, he is your guy.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's like people are like, "Oh man, the Lions of Al Rassan is fucking banging," and I'm like, I gotta read this at some point. I was kind of wanting to read Tigana personally, because I know it's kind of his best known work, but a lot of people are like, "Yo, Britton, you should read Lions of Al Rassan." So maybe Al Rassan, sorry.
I think they're all good. There's a really good essay that Ori, who's in chat, linked
Oh yeah,
me
Ori's
twice by now, and I've read it once, about Orientalism in both Guy Gavriel Kay and Robert E. Howard and so forth. It's a really good essay. I don't necessarily agree with everything, but it makes the essay makes some really good points. I just can't remember the title right now, but
I think it Grendel though, from John Gardner, which I'm looking for.
Yeah, I saw you picked up Grendel. Yeah. And Grendel was one of the biggest joys to read last year, I believe.
Is it good?
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Again, and I think
okay.
you would have a kick of it, Ralph, because essentially it's 12 chapters, and virtually
Yeah.
every chapter is riffing on some philosophy, essentially.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
I did read John Gardner's book on moral fiction a while ago, and I really enjoyed it. Although I very much disagree with Gardner in a lot of ways. But
that might be.
Didn't he rip on like Harlan Ellison and Kurt
Vonnegut
Vonnegut in that book?
You're not ashamed to show when you're disagreeing with people.
No, but like the thing is, like John Gardner, disagreeing with John Gardner still makes him like valuable to read, because he does have a very clear position that he makes there, and it's like, yeah, that's.
Yeah. But what were you saying, Britton? We cut you off there, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, didn't he rip on like Harlan Ellison and like Kurt Vonnegut in that book?
I mean,
Ripped on
who doesn't get in a fight with Harlan Ellison?
I think, okay, let me put it this way. It might be fewer people who actively start a fight with Harlan Ellison. Usually it's Ellison who starts the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading.
So I guess props to John Gardner for doing that.
You know, I read a book, or I read the James Elroy biography from my friend Steve Powell. It's called "Love Me, Fierce and Danger," and it was about. And there's a section of the book when he was just starting out in the '80s and he met Harlan Ellison. I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be good, because James Elroy is also rather infamously a ham, as John Minton likes to say.
Yep.
So I'm like, I imagine they didn't like each other, obviously, so it was great. I'm like, this is awesome. They didn't go too into depth about it, but it was interesting because like Elroy also knew like Samuel Delany briefly, which was interesting. So that was it was a good book. I recommend it.
Yeah. Of course, Delany is also one of those figures that
Yeah.
How to put it? On one hand, he is
kind of an oddball.
Yeah, to say the least. I mean, on one hand, how many black writers of science fiction and fantasy were there at that time that have the same name recognition that he had? But at the same time, I don't even want to say this on the street, but let's just say he had some views that definitely is still not just controversial but illegal. Let's just say that.
Yeah, but Age of Consent and Chip Delany are certainly a combination.
Yeah, I was thinking, since reading science fiction is one of my goals too this year, I was considering maybe reading like Babel 17, one of his shorter books, but I'm not sure yet.
I've read that one. I'm not sure if I'm the prime audience because it's very much about linguistic and the use of language, and and I always, again, as someone who has studied history and political history, political science, the so-called phrase of the linguistic turn is sort of dreaded in my opinion. It's Foucault and everyone, and then that sort of pisses me off. Sorry. I mean, but my point isn't that it necessarily is wrong or do that, but of course it's the same people that say word is violence, and then it's always become more. My point isn't that it necessarily isn't, but it very often becomes it's worse to say something than to actually do so. People will get more interested. Oh, I got you for something you said, rather than actually going at the people who do. And
I did recently reread David Graeber's The Utopia of Rules, and he does really lay into Foucault there for a while, which is refreshing.
Again, Foucault is also a character that, for good reasons, did some very illegal stuff that shouldn't be.
He's laying into Foucault for actually basically losing. Same as Baudrillard up to a point, like losing the actual revolutionary goals that the Situationists still had, and that postmodernism, post-structuralism in a lot of ways basically lost or left for just playing with images and nothing more. Basically, so he's not happy about Foucault.
But I was just want to say we talked a little bit about Orientalism and so forth. Of course, I also have been reading By Blood, by Salt by
I wanted to read that
by J.L. Odom, which I would recommend. It's a very again, she has served in the middle. She was in the U.S. Army as a translator and served in the U.S. So she has some really interesting perspectives, I would say. Because it is very much, again, as you said, it's how to. Who do you choose to ally with? It's not. She has some interesting thoughts there.
Yeah.
So I can recommend that. I'm just going to go through some of the books I recently read. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I also read Lord of the Shattered Land by
I've been wanting to read
Howard
it.
Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
I know
that's a
Liam.
very
I don't know if Liam's still here, but he really liked.
Liam would probably he's probably read all of those books, haven't he? Yeah, and I would say I would recommend them too, also because again, it was kind of sold as okay, Conan meets Hannibal essentially, but one of the things that quite early on happened is that you really it's a very much almost like uh, the Count of Monte Cristo situation essentially, because again it's essentially what if the third Punic War had happened while Hannibal still lived, and he sort of
Yeah.
come back and tries to liberate his people, acting in the shadows and having this secret, the wealth fund of treasures that that is hidden away. So it becomes sort of it is a very much a Monte Cristo, a lot of disguises, and it's very cool. Really
That's
cool.
funny. I'm actually reading The Star's My Destination right now, and it's kind of playing with that Count of Monte Cristo type of plot.
I do
So-
really like Stars My Destination for
It's
how
an
in your
interesting
face
book.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it in a lot of ways it's sort of like
I'm probably gonna
Free-based.
like I said, I'm probably gonna respect it more than I like enjoy it as like a story on its own. But it is an interesting book. I like how he plays with language, particularly in the dialogue. I like that a
yeah.
lot.
For me, I felt it was one of those books that, together with, because it was slightly ahead of the curve when science fiction sort of moved out of the John W. Campbell sort of like golden age school into more philosophical, more diverse ways. And I feel like Stars My Destination, same as some of the early Ray Bradbury stuff, is sort of like where that starts to happen, which is why the book is so influential, because it shows Bester showed that you can actually do something like that and still be successful, because you don't have to write the books that John W. Campbell wants you to write, basically.
Didn't he get pissed off at Campbell? Because I remember reading that somewhere where
Bester got pissed off at him. I think it's in also in Astounding. Both Bradbury and Bester,
which I will also be reading this year, by the way. I don't know when, but I'll be getting to it.
Which one? Yeah, Astounding. It's really good. Yeah, there's some issues there, like Bradbury. Campbell didn't like Bester or Bradbury, and he didn't like Delaney, and the whole like there's certainly elements of racism in and other conservative aspects.
Yeah, he was basically like that grumpy old man who was like, "Damn kids, get off my lawn."
No, he was also like, this is way too modern for me, and this is way too queer, way too black, way too Jewish, and so forth. He definitely had some issues when it came to selecting authors, did our good old John W. Campbell.
Yeah, but
I haven't unfortunately read it yet, Stars My Destination, but of course it has a big influence on the Babylon 5 series, if I'm not mistaken, because, literally is a character named
Bester,
yeah. And of course these mental I don't remember the terms from the series, but of course they also had this sort of mental was it a psychop or something? It was definitely
Psycho,
yeah. So we're definitely playing using him a lot as a lot of a reference in that series.
Yeah, no, to go back to Delaney, I will say, I am to preface, I am a guy who doesn't mind offensive content. As a matter of fact, I like reading offensive books, but I probably will never read Hog if I can help it. Delaney, because that just sounds so disgusting.
Yeah,
from what friends of mine have told me who have read this cursed book, I'm like, I don't want to read that.
Well, have you read Naked Lunch?
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. That's the last thing I'll say about Delaney. But
I mean, like I haven't read much Delaney yet, but he's certainly influential and important in a lot of ways, and also like probably also important when it comes just to like the networking between different authors. Like you read interviews and biographies and nonfiction stuff by all kinds of authors, and everyone's like, yeah, and then Chip Delaney said this or that, and like Ursula Le Guin thought really highly of Delaney, for example, and Le Guin not the least smart person in science fiction in the last century.
Yeah, I
To
mean,
put it
again,
mildly.
Babylon 17, as I said, I
Yeah.
read. I also read the first Neverion book, which also
Yeah.
is a bit. Definitely also have some scenes that a bit questionable. Let's put it at least. But
I haven't
again,
read Naked Lunch yet. I have read Howl though. That's an interest. I read that when I was like 14. That was an interesting.
That is maybe the wrong age to read.
Yeah, no.
something like that.
I remember reading that and going like, "Wow, like poetry can do that." Like it's so
Yeah.
bizarre. I'm like, "Yo, what is this?"
Hold on, Naked Lunch is certainly an experience.
yeah, again, I would say it's almost like David Lynch, but the thing is that David Lynch, he has a certain decency to himself, and that
Yeah.
William S. Burroughs have no at all.
No, but I mean that's part of the point of Naked Lunch is to describe sort of like the depravity that comes with being a heroin addict, right? Like that's part of it, and yeah, he goes there, and he goes there hard.
Yeah, no, but no, I haven't read Delaney yet. There's a lot of people in science fiction I haven't read yet. I'm trying to I haven't read John Bruner, Brian. I haven't read a lot of the new waves guys. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I've only read Stand on Zanzibar by Bruner, and the thing is, I can't say that it's a favorite of mine in any way, but I can. It's still fascinating how. I wouldn't say that he got all right, but it's sort of a twisted image of our world in many ways. It's obviously we are not having forever wars in Southeast Asia, but in the Middle East.
Well, we picked some other place for that.
Yeah, I mean, and of course the whole population bomb theory of was it Paul Ehrlich, who was sort of a big. Of course, that didn't. I mean, we have passed that. I think we are 8 billion now, and it's like we're way past that, and there are more people who are, who have what's the English term? There are more people who are suffering from. There are less people who are starving than there are people who are overweight. Let's just put it that. So it's not a thing that we're going to lack resources. It is the distribution. It's.
I mean, that's always been the thing, right? Like we don't live in a Malthusian world unless we want to make it one.
Yeah, that's.
But
still, it is a very cool book, and then it has a lot of. But the thing is that he is kind of pre his time because the whole book is divided into 4 parts.
Yeah,
and it's very I believe it's essentially headlines. I don't know exactly what he calls them, but it's sort of headlines. So it's sort of what's happening in the news. It's what's happening. I believe it's the continuation. That's what sort of the main story. And then you have these zoom-ins on smaller stories that happen at the same time, sort of one chapter stories, short stories. And then you have what essentially is your social media feed on drugs, essentially the final part, which is like but that's the thing. On one, his way of presenting media is sort of, for us in 2026, that sort of makes sense, and that's the sort of to be so compared to say 1984 or Handmaid's Tale or something. I do think Bruner is perhaps more closer in many ways than a lot of other dystopian fiction. And that's a scary thought.
I always felt Brave New World was a more frightening dystopia than 1984, personally speaking.
I kind of get that. I kind of get that because I would say,
which why I think it holds up a lot better for me. Don't get me wrong. I love 1984. I think it's a great book. Everyone should go read it.
Yeah, of course. But it is kind of drawn down by.
It is. We
are not living in a communist regime. Let's face it. We're not. So but the thing that I usually say, I fear that 1/3 of the world will be living in Brave New World, perhaps more our part of the world, and then perhaps and more China and so forth will be living in 1984. And then the final third will be living in essentially Mad Max or The Water Knife by Paolo Bocchini and so forth. Balucci.
Yeah.
I always mess up his name. Yeah, but The Water Knife is highly recommended, and I think you will enjoy that, Britton, if you haven't read it.
I'll have to find that. But yeah, no, but yeah, I'm also hoping to read Red Mars from Kim Stanley. Mac, you've actually been reading a lot of Kim Stanley Robinson.
Yeah, I'm just reading his California trilogy right now. So I'm finished with 2 of them, and I'll have Pacific Edge next month. Yeah.
Which
I think for me the next one will be Years of Rice and Salt. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Which, Liam, that's interesting. Speaking of African sword and sorcery and the like, I would love
Imaro, really good.
I would love to read Amaro at some point because
Amaro, yeah.
I don't know if I thought I saw recently they put out a new edition of it. I could be wrong on that, but I would love to read that at some point.
They did make an audiobook of the first volume of that, and then they stopped doing all of that, and now it's also dropped from Audible again, so I have no idea what happened there.
That sucks.
But there's also, well, I mean, I have it, so I'm fine, but I would have really loved to have books volume 2 and 3 in audio as well. But there's a new biography of Charles Saunders out that I really want to get to.
Yeah, no, I've wanted to read that because I'm always interested in reading fantasy that isn't, as always, mimicking the Tolkien model, if you will. Which I guess Saunders is probably mimicking the Howardian model, which nothing wrong with either of those, by the way. I'm just
no, but yeah. I would
and also I heard it was kind of a touchstone for the Dark Star books, which I won't rehash my love of those again.
No, I know. So I think that would be an interesting read, definitely. Speaking of books I'm about to read, and we're going back a bit to sci-fi. I am starting on the Vorkosigan Saga books next week.
Oh, by Master Bujold?
Louis McMaster Bujold.
It's always funny when those lesser-known fantasy authors blow up. Like Bujold is the one who's been blowing up recently. Because I mean, Neil Gaiman's kind of out of style now, so everyone's like, "Yo, you should read Lois McMaster Bujold."
I sort of consider it this sort of a Venn diagram because you have people who I really like Guy Gavriel Kay. I want more Guy Gavriel Kay, so they get their fantasy, and then you have, for example, Christopher Rocchio have been very vocal in having McMaster Bujold as one of his favorites, and especially the Vorkosigan Saga, and one of the things. I haven't again started to read it, but just from plot summaries and so on, I can clearly see how that influenced Sun Eater, for example. Very clearly. And again, I'm not saying that as a put down of Rocchio, but that's I can see he's continuing a tradition here.
I think at first.
We need more sword and sorcery in the world is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I think I first encountered McMaster Bujold when Steve Jackson Games put out their GURPS supplement for the Vorkosigan Saga. So that was the first time I was like, oh right, this sounds really neat.
Remind me, Raf, you hadn't been reading Roycroft's
no,
the Shattered. What is I forgot the name series, but it's the Severing Sun.
I know it exists, but I haven't.
Yeah. Again, again, this is one of these cases about cultural differences. Is a bit interesting because I had a sort of I really love these books. I think they are it's fascinating. It's sort of viewing a lot of, say, how would Rowan, Tolkien's Rohirrim as for Britain there. I was just talking about Von Roycroft's The Sounding Sun.
Yeah, I had him on my podcast a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Very cool dude. But I just wanted to talk to showcase some these aspects of cultural differences, and that's one of these parts is that I was having rather really good showcase. I really loved it. This was a 5-star read for me. But I also had as Scandinavian, we have to show that we are truly appreciating you. We also have to be very honest about what we, and I know that it was perhaps a bit on the nose, some of the references, and apparently, I wouldn't say that you got mad, but it's clearly, I most likely came off as a bit uncouth than from the Scandinavian perspective. I am kind of showing you, this is, I really love it, and I'm not just saying this just to be, I want to give you an honest answer. That's sort of. But I just wanted to mention that's. But again, I think every book of his has been magnificent to read. So I'm very excited that he's going to continue that series after the trilogy. So I'm really excited for that.
Cool. No, I still even have to start reading the Edan trilogy. Probably something that may happen this week. I don't know. We'll see. But with a lot of like self-published stuff, the problem is obviously always is like very few people actually invest in audiobooks because it's really expensive and doesn't necessarily pay off. I know that by Blood by Salt one does have an audiobook, so that's neat. I don't know if the Von Roycroft stuff does have audio. I'm
looking it up. There seems to be just looking at Amazon Prime. There seems to be an audiobook. Yeah.
Okay.
True. So again, I can't.
Probably on Audible. Yeah.
I haven't checked it out. So, but
I am considering rereading Liam's book because I don't know if I gave it a fair shake when I read it last time, and also I was kind of juggling things when I read his book. I remember kind of.
Oh yeah. I also have that book. So I'm very sorry, Liam. I have not gotten into it yet. I hope to get it.
I did read
sooner rather than later.
So. Have you read Mushroom Blues yet, Mac? Have you read that book?
No. I haven't. I have it on a TBR. Yeah, but I don't know. I haven't been that much into crime or crime. Again, an aspect that Elroy has been an exception to that, but I think that's also a lot because there is sort of a history angle, because he's really good at describing LA at that time. So I think that's sort of why I gravitate more to that. And to be fair, just to hammer in that I'm Scandinavian, of course, Nordic noir and everything, is Scandinavia. Whenever you are in a reader setting, crime fiction it's so huge in Scandinavia. So you can be a bit. I do think perhaps it's a bit. I wouldn't say tired, but it can be a bit.
Always, sir, because I've met Adrian. He's a cool guy. I've been trying to get in contact to him to talk about Mushroom Blues, but he seems to be busy with other things at the moment, so I can forgive him that. Yeah, I mean, let me tell you, self-pub is a whole other can of worms. I have so many books here already. Okay, I'm like, come on. But no, it is fun reading books from people because generally most of the books I've read from people I know I liked. So
I don't think I've read books by people I know, in the sense of people I've met. In the sense of
haven't you read the Edan books?
Not yet. No. That's my point. It's like not yet.
Okay.
It's going to happen very soon. But that's
because the audiobooks are out there. So that's definitely a choice for you.
No, I already have book 1 and 2 in my library. I just lack the third one, which is going to happen. I don't know, next month when I have like an Audible credit to spend on the third one, and then I'll go through all 3 of them, and then we'll see how much I'll like them.
But I was just looking over my TBR list, so
Yeah.
I'm planning to read Black Dahlia this summer. Yeah. So,
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
yeah.
You know, it's one of those, like, I read it, I'm like, yeah, this is good, but, you know, it's not like confidential, you know, and then like it stuck with me though. Like there are moments in that book that stick with you. So I mean,
Oh yeah, right. Okay, I'm sorry, Joe. Yes, I've met you before I read your book. That is true. That is true. I was just like, I've talked to
I
authors
was just so offended.
after I read. I've talked to people after I read their books, but that's the other way around, right? Like, so yeah, I have read the first of Joe's books, and I liked it, and we talked about it afterwards. And this will happen again for the next books now that they have audiobooks. Once I get my shit together, which seems to take much longer than I wanted because, you know, life.
Yeah. Speaking of German literature, I'm also planning on reading Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse this summer. So,
I don't know. Herman, isn't that the guy who wrote Siddhartha, or how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's Siddhartha. It's Siddhartha.
I've always been wary of that book because it almost seems like that white dude who smoked a bunch of weed and was all like, yeah, man, I just saw this Buddhist stuff, man. We're all just connected. You know, I'm sure Raph is going to be super offended by how I just said that. But...
I tried to read the chat, so I didn't pay attention. Count yourself lucky.
Oh, okay. I was just saying how I feel. I was kind of wary of Hermann Hesse because he just seems like that white dude who discovered Buddhism and smoked a shitload of weed and was like, "Yo, man, like."
I don't think he ever converted to Buddhism.
Oh,
I think he stayed a Christian.
We're all just together, bro. And I'm just like,
God. Hermann Hesse, Hermann Hesse is one of the originators of the term magical realism, though.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, it's originally a German word, magischer Realismus, that was then transported to mostly South America for the tradition of magical realism. But like Hesse is one of the OGs in that regard.
You just caught me in not making a joke of other German exports to South America, but I'm sorry.
I have my issues with Hesse,
Chad,
but
I'm sorry with me on this. There's going to be so much chuckling with this session. I'm sorry.
I have my issues with
why
Hesse.
I'm not doing videos.
Yeah, I have my issues with Hermann Hesse, but that one. Not one of them. Probably one of the better exports to South America when it comes to Germany.
I'm not going to argue against you on that.
I love me some philosophical digressing as much as the next guy, but you know, there's sometimes you gotta put the brakes on. But yeah, anyway, you're reading that book. Are you reading Siddhartha or are you reading something else?
No, I'm planning to do it this summer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Siddhartha, Black Dahlia, and of course those Master and Commander books. It's Aubrey and Maturin.
Maturin, yes.
Yeah. So.
I still have to read those. I read a lot of the Hornblower books as a kid because I found I think it was
I love the TV. I love the TV adaptation with Joan. I forget the last name. Grufford. Yeah,
could be. I haven't watched it. I read them because I found a collection, like a binder of Hornblower novels. I think from my grandfather, and I was like, "This is so good." I mean, I was like 12 years old, and like this was really good. Also, I started to really hate Napoleon at that point, which I guess
as you do, you know. Just,
I
mean, he just made a law system for all of Europe, essentially. You know, big deal here.
I have certainly changed my views on Napoleon, but like I was 12 years old. I didn't know who Napoleon was. My first introduction to the French, to the perfidious French, was reading Hornblower novels, which
the fun part again is that his mother language was Italian because he was from Corsica, so you know it's one of the I forgot what is the name. It is this Scottish tales, or is it Irish? It is Celtics. I don't remember the name of the series, but essentially they were translated to a lot of. It could almost proto fantasy essentially, and he had his copy in Italian of this book in Italian.
Are you talking about You're talking about the Mabinogion, or
Not the no. It was the Boston saga. I have to look it up. Sorry, chat.
And one of the things I learned about Corsica is, of course, that the Corsican separatists and their love for car bombs got all their know-how from the very, very far right white supremacist French people who left, had to leave Algeria after the Algerian War because they were settled in Corsica and brought that knowledge that they used in Algeria during the war. Used that brought that to Corsica, and through organized crime, it moved to Corsican separatists, which is, the kind of thing you learn when you read Mike Davis's Buddha's Wagon: A History of the Car Bomb. So now I know way more about Corsica than I did like 2 weeks ago.
You're reminding me of Asterix story, and when they are in Corsica, there's so many jokes about the Constantine mafia and the blowing up stuff. I mean, it's stuff that they got right over our head as kids, but that's one of the reasons why the Asterix books never get old. Because as a kid, punching Romans, cool, and then when you read it, there's so much. European political satire of from the 1950s to today, essentially.
No, they're great. The Asterix in Corsica one, really good. But it's like what I found interesting was sort of like to see how the tradition or the techniques of car bombs as a weapon of terror and destruction and so forth, how they move from which group to which group, where the knowledge comes from. So you have like the French colonial forces in Vietnam, and those people transport that knowledge to Algeria during the war there, and those people then end up in Corsica because they have to be resettled after Algerian independence, and that's sort of like how the culture of the car bomb moves through the world in a lot of ways.
It's like that. It's like Mr. Spock, fascinating,
I think I might have mentioned the Asterix stories to you, Britton, because again, you are a comics book guy. So,
yes. You have
but I do think, for example,
they're a huge deal in Europe. Like everyone in Western Europe, at least, grew up on Asterix comics.
But I would say perhaps the Torgal series would perhaps be more into your line, because again, it's more. The Asterix stories, again, as I said, we grew up with it, but I think, for example, Torgal would be perhaps more in your vein, which essentially is Viking stories mixed with, mythology and ancient aliens. No, not ancient aliens, ancient astronauts, essentially,
Yeah.
So you understand it was written in the started written in the 1970s.
I mean,
it's got Däniken all over it. All over it.
Yeah, I read my first Erich von Däniken book when I was also 12 or 13 years old. Luckily, I recovered quickly, and reading this stuff now is really, really frustrating because Däniken. Not just weird guy, but the whole pseudo archaeology, ancient astronauts, whatever stuff. It, for whatever reason, it ends up in very problematic white supremacist and often anti-Semitic territory very quickly for weird reasons.
He's not the only person in comics who was fascinated by ancient aliens. I mean, Otto Bender kind of went off the end there for going. I'm talking about America, so there's a lot of it's kind of funny, it seems science fiction and fantasy and comics and sort of that kind of pop culture, if you will, tends to attract a lot of oddballs, which is probably not a profound observation, but nonetheless.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, Donald, it was called Laudanum.
I just found what I was talking about. It was the Ossian cycles by
the Ossian
by James
stuff.
McPherson. Yeah.
The thing that was sold as supposedly original translations and
authentic text,
yeah,
and then it wasn't authentic Irish text. So again, they were really popular in Europe at the time, and as I said, Napoleon did have a copy of it in Italian, which was his
interesting. So the funny thing is, I had to read The Sufferings of Young Werther by Goethe in high school, and that book contains long quotations from the Ossian cycle because Werther in the novel, right? Werther is reading Ossian, so he's, and it's like his fictitious basically diary, right? So he quotes like long excerpts from the Ossian cycle in that. So yeah, it was really popular around like 1800. Like everyone read it and was like,
and of course, as I said, I grew up with not only the books but also the two first Asterix movies, of course, which also it's just such a completely different take on cultural differences because only French and Italian people would put Monica Bellucci as Cleopatra in a family movie. It's
see, Ori, the question is, did he actually make sure that those numbers are accurate, though?
James Randi, that's another thing with fucking. I'm so annoyed with people like James Randi and fucking Penn Jillette. It's like, okay, buddy. Like, if you're gonna be dressed up like have a fucking red fingernail and then try to tell me about logic, it's gonna be hard for me to take you seriously. Like, I'm sorry,
I don't even know who James Randi is.
He's a magician and like well-known like skeptic. Like, I think he died a few years ago, but he's basically if like I don't know if he's quite as obnoxious as a Christopher Hitchens or a Richard Dawkins, but yeah, definitely one of those like, oh, well, I don't know.
He is, however, definitely right about...
Gillette painted his fingernail, not Randy. But Randy, yeah, he definitely is kind of in that vein where he's all like...
Okay, but James
facts
Randi...
and logic will disprove God. And you're just like, no, that's not how that works. Like...
It does, unfortunately, not even work for Chariots of the Gods, where he is, at least, if the page numbers are correct, then that is the only correct thing in that book. It's still entertaining to read if you're like 12 years old.
It is really cool as a story, by all means. I mean, there's a reason why Battlestar Galactica and all those stuff, or Stargate, good stories. But the problem is when you take it that, oh yeah, this is fact. I'm like, no, maybe not.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know. Mac might understand or not understand, but Mac would probably empathize my gripes more than maybe Raph would. But it's like he's one of those like, yo, facts and logic disprove God, and it's like that's not how that shit works. Like.
I do agree with you there. That's I do agree with you there.
No, I agree with you. It's just kind of like, again, that's not how that works. But I agree with him. Proving that like psychics are frauds. Like that's fine. It's just kind of like It's like
I have you back there, Britton. No worries.
It's like just because
I'm more
does not mean I'm more worried it does not exist. Like
I'm more worried that you thought that I would disagree with you on that one.
No, I mean I don't know. I thought maybe you would push back a little bit. I don't know.
No, I find
you were raised Catholic, so you're always Catholic.
I am culturally Catholic.
I'll have to find one of Randy's. But I haven't actually. I probably shouldn't.
No.
I've just seen him like talk. Give like interviews and stuff. Which like okay, whatever. Yeah. But he was basically like the Houdini of his time, basically for lack of.
But Houdini is way more fun.
Yeah, Houdini's great. Like Houdini was an interesting guy too. Like, which is funny. I read the book, The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay a few years ago. Great book. And it also deals a lot, not with Houdini, but one of the characters is a magician, which is kind of a play on Jim Steranko, who was also a magician and a comic book artist. But yeah, no. I know Hitchens has been dead for a while, but I'm just saying Hitchens because like a lot of people probably know who Hitchens is.
See, who's picking fights with dead men now?
That was what I'm saying. I pick. I'm not saying I'm above. I'm not saying I'm not above picking fights with dead people.
Again, this is what's gonna happen when I'm on the
fights
stream.
with dead
There's
people.
gonna be chuckles all over the place.
No, sorry, no, I haven't looked into James Randi. I did read 1 or 2 books by what's the guy that's really obnoxious and another one of those like facts and logic people, but probably more of the
Sam Harris.
No, not Sam Harris. I don't mean the guys who all ended up being massive racists and Islamophobes. I mean, what's his fucking the conspiracy theory debunking guy, Skeptics Magazine, massive asshole
Michael
as well.
Shermer?
Yeah, that guy. What a piece of shit.
Yeah, no, he's another one of those like facts but he's like nicer about it than like Christopher Hitchens. Like Christopher Hitchens kind of seemed like an asshole, honestly. Like I don't know. Maybe he was a nice guy. Who knows? When he wasn't, being a professional contrarian on TV.
Yes, it's always better. It's always better to pick fights with dead men than picking fights with the Pope, unless the Pope is dead. Then you can
which you actually can do.
The Pope. I've heard
there was this Pope that was buried. That was reopened his grave, and they had a trial against him.
Yeah, I was just going to say, talk about the fucking cadaver synod.
Yeah, no, I'm just annoyed with the like. I'll put it this way: like Penn Jillette is tame in comparison to like a Richard Dawkins. I could probably hang out with Penn Jillette and we would find fun stuff to talk about.
Well, I mean, the question is, how much are you into racism against brown people, hatred of Islam, hatred of trans people, queer people, and how about your good buddy Jeffrey Epstein? If any of these topics are good for you, you might be really good with Richard Dawkins. What a piece of shit.
I just think he's just fucking, again, he's one of those guys who's like, oh, facts and logic disprove God. I'm like, again, that's not how that shit fucking works. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's not how that works.
Not to go away from a very fun and controversial topic and everything, but we were talking about the Master and Commander books. And of course, the Master Commander movie is, I have to admit, it is probably my, I'm not going to say it's the best movie ever made, but it's probably my favorite movie of all time, most likely. So, so it's that, and if I'm going to do a sort of letterbox 4, it would probably be Master and Commanders, Blues Brothers as the really my comedy pick, and
good pick.
Then,
yeah. Oh, Mac isn't. Well, to be fair, John, British have an interesting knack for being annoying. Oh, Mac, you paused for a minute.
Well,
yeah, sorry, I probably paused. Yeah, I was saying my third choice would probably either be the Seventh Seal or Seven Samurai.
Seventh Seal's great.
Yeah, and I probably go Seventh Seal because again, it's so fascinating because it made on a shoestring budget. They literally used, the ending scene, not to spoil everything. They used literally tourists that were like in the area. Like, can we use you to just do something? Again, not trying to spoil a 70-year-old movie here, but it's let's just do that stuff, and it's so iconic. Even it just gives anyone who does movie and
one of his more accessible movies, because I saw Persona a few years ago, and I still can't make heads or tails on them. But I remember liking it. Like, I thought it was a good.
Yeah, it's a good movie, and
I can't make heads or tails of it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's again very. I would not be surprised if Lynch really liked that movie. Let's put it that mildly.
Which one? The Seventh Seal? Yeah, probably. It's an amazing movie, though.
Yeah, Seventh Seal. And for my final pick, I always have a hard. It has to be a David Lean movie, but I have always a hard time choosing between Lawrence of Arabia or Dr. Zhivago. But I think I would actually go for Dr. Zhivago right now, because again, it's a
Oh
fascinating.
God, I suffered through that movie. No, okay. Like,
What's so wrong with Alec Guinness and brown face? I mean, come on, can't be that bad.
no, the problem with Dr. Zhivago was that I saw it at a theater at a classic, so-called classic sneak, so you don't know what you get, and it costs like €3.50, and it starts at 11 p.m.
Oh no!
And that's where the problem comes with Dr. Zhivago, because that movie ain't over until like 2:30 in the morning or something.
No, of course not. But again, it's
the same problem.
I'm still just fascinating by that movie, and again, and Julie Christie might be the most beautiful woman that has ever been. That's just the facts. I mean, it's just, and I'm not saying that is. It's just, and again, it's just a heartbreaking movie on such a level, and it's so I would say those.
I thought you were talking about Lawrence of Arabia.
That's just to put it in a letterbox 4, just to,
yeah.
Which I haven't seen Lawrence of Arabia, but I know it has Alec Guinness and brown face, which I bet Raph would just love. He would just be like, "That's my favorite part."
I mean, to be fair, I mean, you also have I forgot the name, but the chief leader is of course played by a Mexican. So I don't know if that's much better either. If we were going looking for political correctness, but I think in the end, I would take the point that I also go for is is he a character and a caricature, and I don't think the character of Alec Guinness in that movie is a caricature. No. He's perhaps the most reflective character in that film, actually.
I'm a big fan of Bridge on the River Kwai. That's an excellent movie.
It is definitely a fun movie. Yes, that is true. No, I think yes, having all white Anglo-American actors play people from all over the place with black face and brown face and whatever is bad, but it is very much sort of like, at that point when that movie was made, that is very much sort of like a thing of the times. If you'd still do it today, then I would call it offensive,
Of course.
And yes, was the movie industry at the time racist? Yes, of course it was. I mean,
what's there.
I mean, what they did to poor Rita Hayworth is it still hurts to when you read what she had to go through to be going from being a Mexican to passing as white. That's just dreadful.
Yeah. Have you? I was just going to say, have you read The Seventh Veil of Salome by Silvia Moreno Garcia? Because that's very much about that kind of topic.
I don't think I've read it yet. But yeah.
It's about a Mexican actress being cast as Salome in one of those typical late 50s, early 60s Bible movies, and all the stuff that comes with that. Also flashbacks to sort of the life of the real Salome. So it has that sort of 3.
Cool.
My dad and I rewatched the 10 Commandments the other day. Not to interrupt you, Raph, but speaking of funny,
what's your favorite one?
Effects. I love big, giant, fake white beard Charlton Heston seeing the promised land at the end of the movie because it's.
I'm usually not the type to get too frustrated, but again, he is.
I'm not
literally the most
bad. It's just kind of funny to watch. Sorry, Mac, I didn't interrupt you.
No. Very fun. Yeah, but I think it's a good movie. It's a good movie.
No, it is a good movie. It's just kind of funny seeing some of the effects now.
But again, I think Ben-Hur is perhaps my of those better. But again, I do like.
Is a good movie.
That is a good movie, and again, the race scene is, of course, famous and for a reason. And it's just you just get blown away by the scale that these movies could be made at. Of course, you kind of can do it today, but it wouldn't be. It's just so much cheaper to CGI in.
It's the same. It's the same thing when you watch Blues Brothers for the first time and realize how many fucking cop cars they shredded in that movie.
Yeah, or for that matter, how the Russian version of War and Peace, was exactly. I mean, I don't. If I have to admit, Russian acting has never been my cup of tea. At least not the guy who's playing Pierre is clearly in his 40s or 50s. He doesn't roll as Pierre from War and Peace. But again, the battle scenes are fantastic, and that's what happen when you have the Red Army on standby to make your movie. You can have,
I was going to say,
okay, let's have 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 people go amok dressed as Napoleon soldiers.
See, socialism is really good for movies.
No.
Yeah, I've only.
Let's just say I don't think neither human or animal welfare was taken into account there in those movies.
Oh no!
I will say the only Russian film I've seen is Stalker from.
I was going to talk about it. Of
which
course,
is an amazing.
The big
film.
exception I would say is Tarkovsky, and again,
I
think he's
apparently also didn't take animal welfare into account. So
of course,
I've heard that.
Human welfare. Most likely he died because of the pollution he was.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Forgot about that.
I mean, to be fair, animal welfare wasn't a big concern in Hollywood either for the longest time. You know,
but you're just talking about scale here.
I want to see more.
We should also talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger in Conan punching that camel.
That's great. I love that scene.
That is apparently the reason why that movie did not get the No Animals Were Harmed certification, because that was a spur of the moment.
I mean, it's in the face. It's in the face. He literally hit him in the face. You can't pass that one.
Oh man!
I mean, it's also just like a reflex thing. You can tell it's just a reflex thing. It's like fuck.
Man, Conan the Barbarian 1980s film is my favorite. Is one of my it's not my favorite guilty pleasure movie. That's G.I. Joe: Rise of Cobra, but it is one of my favorite kind of guilty pleasure type movies.
I don't think you have to just call it a guilty pleasure. It is it has very little to do with the actual Conan stories, but it does
good.
It does very much capture of that spirit.
And the fascinating part again, when you get John Milius and Oliver Stone in your movie, and it's doomed to be some fascinating stuff. You know, I can think of two diametrically opposed political people, and still they work together. Perhaps there is a lesson for the world there.
I still really enjoy the scene where he's praying the Chrome, and he goes, "And if you do not, then to hell with you." And I'm like, yeah. Get him, Conan.
That I think is also the other way that actually casting Schwarzenegger in that one was a really good choice, because with his like brutal accent, he does very much sort of like fit that sort of outsider barbarian kind of thing.
Spits it out, and it's great. I mean, it's like by Chrome. I'm like, oh man, he's gonna fuck some people up.
Or some camels.
And also when James Earl Jones turns into a snake, that's wonderful. I love that. That's just
it's a good movie, and it has one of the best movie soundtracks ever.
I was just going to talk about it. Basil
Poligoris, yes.
Basil
Poligoris.
Almost Wagner reborn, essentially, and you clearly have. And again, that's I've mentioned that article for you, Britton, haven't I? The New York. There's this famous New Yorker article about how Wagner has shaped Hollywood, and it's not just musical, because again, one of the thing, Raf, you might know this term. What is Gesamtkunst?
Gesamtkunst.
Gesamtkunst. This the whole this art form that is all encompassing,
artwork. Yes.
How you sort of how you on the how at the theater you're putting the orchestra away from the audience view, so you were focused on what's happening on the scene and how to use music and everything, and I think that's if I have to admit, one thing is that I do perhaps have a very Wagnerian, and not in this political view, but in the view of viewing art and culture and everything, because I am the guy who, when I read a book, I'm like, I want to put out that song now, because I think that would be really good to be listening to you right now.
I get that. I did actually get to see all 4 operas of the Ring cycle in theater.
And that's been dope.
Yeah. I mean,
it is really bad on your ass though, because you're sitting in like a fucking opera house chair for 4 hours.
But that wasn't fun walking out. I bet your ass was just numb.
Numb, yes.
No, I haven't listened to very much. I'm more of like a Tchaikovsky guy. If we're talking about
but that's good too. That's good too. I mean,
I don't know. I like the
that's
soft stuff, you know.
yeah. No, but I think you know,
Or Mozart. I do like some like Dies Irae that's a banger.
yeah, of course, and I think that's. I mean, the fun part, you know, with a lot of these early, say, cartoons and so forth, is they like use classical music for it was royalty free, and so most of us have gotten some classical music.
I feel like everyone knows like the stuff from like Disney's Fantasia and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
We when it comes to like those like 19th century opera stuff, I would always recommend Der Freischütz by Karl Maria von Weber, which is another like of those romantic German composers, and it's a story about, you know, someone selling their soul to the devil to make magic bullets to win at a shooting competition.
I do like selling soul to devil stories, so I'll have to find that. You know, I've actually listened to some of Friedrich Nietzsche's compositions, and they're not bad, actually. They're pretty good. You can find them. Just look up like Friedrich Nietzsche music, and you'll find someone doing it. It's actually not bad. He wasn't bad. Oh, I will. Oh, okay. I will definitely look at that. I'd probably have to pay for it, but it's okay.
No. I just said
that. It's a good question, Darnell.
But it's a really good article because I think it's really it depends. So. Raf, I think that's a question for you.
Sorry.
Tharnell asked, what is it with German
souls to the devil?
Yeah.
It just comes natural to us. I don't know.
You know, it's funny. I read Grant Morrison's Animal Man run, which deals a lot with like metafiction and breaking the fourth wall. And a friend of mine was like, you know, the Looney Tunes did that. Like, there's a thing called, you know, Duck-a-Muck, and I was like, oh, I'll have to find that. And I find some of those. Those have held up really well. They're really funny.
Okay, Thornell, I think I can explain why Germans sell their souls to the devil. It is because we have very few gingers, so we do actually have souls that we can sell. That would never fly in Ireland.
Oh, that's great. It's because they didn't sell it for rock and roll.
That is also true.
But just going back to comics, because one thing you always say, Britton, is that you enjoy, you know, Americana and so forth. And one story
I do like America. I mean, it's kind of probably because I'm from America, but
yeah. I mean, we can also like it too. But one of the things that I was talking about is
at least you get to have Americana. We don't get to have Germanica.
Well, I always thought Germanica was like the Black Forest, you know, just walk around in there and be like, yeah. But the weird wolf doesn't show up. You know?
I mean, we do have it. It's called the Tribe of the Will, and that's kind of the problem there.
Yeah, that's sort of.
Oh no.
I mean, yeah, that's. But I was thinking about the Jeremiah comics by is it Hauman? Yeah, Hauman.
Oh, yeah, I saw he died recently. I'll have to find those. Yeah. I've always
because I think those comics would be right up your lane. Again, it's a Belgian comic, but again, I think I think even from an American perspective, you would think that those again the era set in a U.S. that has been destroyed by race riots. I don't think it said exactly when, but again, it was written in the 70s and 80s, so it would more or less when that imagined to happen at that time. Yeah, so it's
so like right after the Watts riots, I guess.
I've always wanted to read the oh damn it, what am I trying to say? I've always wanted to read Blueberry by. I'm a big fan of
Mobius or Gerard.
Yeah, like some of his early work. I've always wanted to read that, but a lot of it's not in English because
some of his early work, just like with Mussolini.
Well, luckily Mobius wasn't Mussolini. We're good on that.
That is true. That is very true.
And this was before he like went all like weird, you know, before all the stuff everyone loves, like the Inkle. which is another book I've wanted to read because again, really love Mobius. But yeah, no, it's Speaking of Alejandro Jodorowsky, man, that dude's fucking crazy. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Jodorowsky's Dune, but that movie is
is an amazing movie. Yeah, documentary.
Great.
It's an amazing documentary. But
it's amazing, but it's
again.
You think David Lynch?
I can say
is
that
weird.
I stand with the guy.
You haven't seen Jodorowsky, like.
But I kind of love the idea. I'm gonna get the best people around, and we're gonna make a masterpiece out of it. There's something about it. It is that sort of ticks my genius. Let's combine all these.
Like he'll just say the most like random out of pocket stuff, and he just does it with a twinkle in his eye, and you're just like, I can't hate this man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, gaze at my works, mighty and despair.
Yeah,
pretty much, yeah. Oh, man.
No.
But that is an amazing documentary. And again, the legacy of that project, even if it didn't come to fruition, it is fascinating. Fascinating how. So
Definitely
even
in the new Dune movie, like the scene where in the Harkonnen homeworld,
the Harkonnen is very clearly inspired
from H.R. Giger, who is also an amazing
very much. Which again, I really enjoyed I really enjoyed the Dune movies. Mistake me wrong here, but on some part, I do. Again, the Harkonnens in the books are more. I think they are more interesting. If I have to be, gun to my head, I would have to say they are more interesting as antagonists because they are again. The thing about this is not but I think it was extra credits or something who put it like the thing about the Baron. He's a tempter. He is like he is a seducer, more or less. He seduces you. What do you want? Power? Do you want drugs? Do you want whatever sexual fantasy you have? That's the sort of his power. It's not brutal. It's not just brutal for brutal sake. It is. He's a manipulator of world rank. So it's so on that matter, I do have, but again, I can't go against my boy. Skarsgård. he's a fascinating.
He was fine, but it was kind of like Kurtz from Apocalypse Now, just 10 times fat, just more fat than Marlon Brando was in that movie.
Yeah. I mean, I do really like the old. Also, I do really like the David Lynch Dune movie. I think it is.
Yeah, I mean the opening, and there are stuff that it is iconic for a reason. And like
it is kind of funny seeing Dale Cooper go through the
also Patrick Stewart as Gurney Halleck, really fun.
Oh yeah, that's right. About that.
And of course Sting is
yes,
as
Fade
is also Though again, it is bonkers.
That's probably the closest Harkonnen
I've
seen to the books, because Harkonnen in the books is crazy. He's all like, "Yeah, food. Yeah, give me that boy over there." It's like,
but I mean, I think what worked really well in that old Dune movie with Sting as Fade Ralpha is to show sort of like this the cruelty that is sort of like hiding behind this sort of like, the way it's built up in the books when you have Fade Ralpha, kill like the slaves in the arena and stuff like that. It's like that's sort of like in contrast to his brother, right? Like a cousin, whatever, right? I think Sting was a good choice for that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I actually think he is like running. I mean, to put him in just tongues that's a choice, but he is like. I mean, if you're gonna put him as, I don't think he would have been a bad choice, anyways. Yeah, but again, of course, the movie is hampered by studio interventions and so forth. So of course, even Lynch, if he had lived, I think did he remove his name from it because he's been very dismissive of the final product, which is a shame because again, I come from I would say that I definitely belong to those who like even a flawed movie can have interesting things that I enjoy, and would perhaps,
Yeah.
if I were going to do a project of my own, okay, this could be interesting to build on, to perhaps make a better,
Yes, that's true.
interesting story or art form. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to get myself another drink, so I'll be back in a minute or so. Going to try and find the fridge.
Keep Dune weird. No truer. It was really weird reading Dune because I kind of felt that Harkonnen could be kind of a cartoon character at times, just how evil he is.
Yeah.
He was just like, "Hey, how about that boy over there? Send him in my room." And I'm like, "What the hell is this?" Right.
Again, Frank Herbert, he is. You can say a lot about him, but it wasn't always that subtle in his. But that's the fun thing. He is very subtle on, for example, ecology and spirituality and manipulation.
Yeah, that's a weird thing because like there's some really great like thematic.
Yeah, mistake me wrong, but he's not
like
that
some weird. What is this? Right out of Barsoom, just not as like gross.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I don't know. It's not one of my favorites, but I definitely respect its impact. I mean, I don't think we would have modern like science fiction or science fantasy with Dune.
Yeah, of course. I again, it is one of those. Of course, there was sci-fi before it and after it, but it really nobody did world building quite like. Or again, not even world building, ecology in the same way that Herbert did. Of course, I have to admit I haven't read the sequel books yet. I'm planning to do.
I know what happens. Like I'm
planning to do
like dozens of people.
Yeah.
And then, like, one of his relatives turns into a worm. It's really, I heard it gets out of pocket after a while.
Yeah, again, I know the Clip Notes version, and it makes. I'm not going to say it makes sense, but he has a point for why he does it, and it is a fascinating point. I'm not sure I might agree.
If it was Frank Herbert who did the worm relative, or if that was Kevin J. Anderson, Brian Herbert invention. I don't know.
No. The worm does appear in Herbert's books, definitely.
Oh, okay.
But the thing I was going to say, one thing that you have to know about Dune is that it's very clearly meant as sort of I wouldn't say a refutation, a takedown of Isaac Asimov's The Foundation books, essentially, and psychohistory. The idea that you can, and that's the thing that I think the Foundation books today reads very interesting to read today, because in many ways what he is describing is what we would call big data or metadata, that you could, if you know enough reference points, you can, if not exactly predict, you can at least give some percentages of likelihood of what people are going to do. And it can be really scary how accurate those, and to have that kind of power in either the hands of the Chinese Communist Party or in the hands of what is the American firm that is named after the orbs? No, the orbs in Lord of the Rings. I forgot the name. The magic orbs. Raph, what's the magic orbs in Lord of the Rings again?
I don't know if he has his earbuds in. Oh, there he is now.
We were just talking about Dune in comparison to the Foundation books by Asimov.
Yeah,
Palantirs. Yeah. Again, Palantir part. Yeah, I was talking. It is a bit scary to have all that kind of data power in the hands of either the Chinese Communist Party or Palantir. That's scary. Let's just say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, both are bad, and at this point, I don't know which is worse. And that's the frustrating part.
Yeah, no, it's funny. We were talking about something earlier. Made me think back to something else I was talking to Brian about. Oh, we were talking about Hitchens earlier, and it kind of reminded me of again. I was talking to Brian on my from Bookish Texan on my podcast the other day, and I'm like, man, it's kind of sad that like authors aren't taken like as seriously anymore. Like, can you imagine today if like Michael Chabon like went on the news like a Gore Vidal or a or like how Norman Mailer did back in the day? Like the last person who kind of did that was like Hitchens, and even then, like Hitchens wasn't like a novelist; he was just like a
Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating to look at these old clips of Harlan Ellison or again other science fiction writers who Isaac Asimov and so forth.
Like they had William Burroughs on one, so like what the hell is he doing here?
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to admit, William Burroughs, he it's fascinating, how many. He lived into the 80s, didn't he? He lived to see the. I believe he lived to see the movie adaptation of Lake and Lunch, didn't he? Or just died right before
98? I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, again, so again, that's the thing. We kind of imagine him as this writer of the 1940s and 50s, but again, he was a mentor for writers, way longer. I don't think he would have. Alice Easton, the guy who wrote American Psycho.
Oh, Bret Easton Ellis. Yeah,
Bret Easton Ellis. Yeah, you wouldn't have gotten him. And again, also William Gibson definitely is influenced by in the Neuromancer. Is definitely a very William Burroughs inspired. Yeah.
I actually think the best Ayn Rand interview is the one Mike Wallace did with her, like right after she did Atlas Shrugged. It's not like that guy, I forget it. It's Donahue. It's something Donahue. I think it's Mike Donahue. I could be wrong on that, but like he lets her talk. He lets her explain her views. You don't have to like her views, by the way, but I think it's really interesting because I like watching interviews anyway. So there you go. But
Ayn Rand is so fucking stupid, but you can tell how much of her stuff is driven by resentment. And if you understand that all of Ayn Rand's worldview is basically resentment of a white woman who doesn't get enough stuff, you can understand the political right today because so much of it is still driven by resentment.
To be fair, she was a refugee from the Soviet Union, so I do kind of get why she had that view.
But her resentment is of not getting ahead in Hollywood as a scriptwriter and stuff like that, and going like, no, the Soviet Union is all absolutely terrible. Like all the publicly funded opera that I got to watch when I was still in St. Petersburg, and all the education I got for free and so forth. That is all really, really bad. Also, why does nobody like me in Hollywood? Clearly, they don't understand my greatness, and this they don't understand my greatness. That level of resentment is something that you find in today's political right, and especially in like the Silicon Valley right. They sort of they feel underappreciated because they think of themselves as much better than they are, and that's something that drives people like Elon Musk and what's his face,
Peter Thiel.
Yeah, him as well. No, I was talking about what's his face, Mark Andreessen. No, Mark Andreessen, the egghead guy. Mark Andreessen in particular.
I'll push back slightly. I'm a bit more sympathetic to her criticisms of the Soviet Union, but I do think she kind of went off. I don't agree with her general altruism. Oh, that's just something like people made up to just manipulate people into, violating their individual rights. I'm like, no, that's not how that works, Ayn Rand. That's not how that works. Hold on a minute.
Just to be clear, I am not defending the Soviet Union here, right? There are valid criticisms.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying. I'm just pointing out here.
Yeah, my point was more the hypocrisy that she does clearly think of herself as incredibly well educated, and all of that education and that culture that she absorbed was provided free to her by the Soviet Union, and she does that. That's my point. It's like, you can hate the Soviet Union, but I don't think Ayn Rand under a Tsarist rule would have actually gotten the same level of education that she got. That's something she's incapable of understanding. or at least acknowledging. But yeah, I think the more important part is the resentment of not being appreciated enough and seeing yourself as a genius. Speaking of, that whole like altruism thing, like reminds me of that interview that Mark Andreessen recently did, where he talked about the fact that he doesn't have any introspection, and introspection was made up by Sigmund Freud in the 1920s, which is just so. Yeah, and that guy, he's the guy who said that, like, tech billionaires were on league, had a deal with America that they would provide innovations and stuff and wealth to America, and in return, the state would not tax them too much and not try to break up their monopolies. And since the Democrats broke that deal, which obviously was never a deal, that's why they are now all on like Trump's side, and that's a level of sort of like entitlement and resentment that I think you can find in Ayn Rand's public sort of like persona and stuff, at least in later years, in a lot of ways. And I think that is still something driving.
Kind of funny because like she ended up pissing off a lot of the people who like followed her because she wanted them to think exactly like her, and I'm just like, there's an irony there, I find.
Yeah, it's like talk about ideological. That's a wonderful word in German, Gleichschaltung.
Always those good German words.
Yeah, no, Gleichschaltung is
like the cognitive dissonance is fucking great. And someone was kind of ranting about libertarianism on Threads the other day and being like, "Oh, Ayn Rand." And I had to point out to the guy, I'm like, look, a lot of the libertarians and conservatives of her time didn't even like her.
No. But again, she wasn't. Yeah. So...
Like you can read some of Murray Rothbard, who's also pretty crazy for different reasons. But you can read some of the stuff he said about her, like William Buckley or even like Robert Nozick a little later on. Like they even they thought she was crazy. So I mean,
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't like blanket
I'm pretty
terms
sure.
anyway, so there you go.
No, I don't think Ayn Rand would do TikTok. I think she would be like a Joe Rogan style podcast because she can't shut up and she needs to have like 4-hour episodes of talking about stuff.
I could see that actually.
She's not necessarily like Friedrich Nietzsche, really good on Twitter. Ayn Rand, probably not. There's people like Schopenhauer, also really good on Twitter. There's people who are good at aphorisms. Ayn Rand, not one of them.
Like Ambrose Bierce would be fucking great on Twitter. Yeah,
Ambrose Bierce is great everywhere.
Yeah, no, but yeah, going back to that, I
don't know. Ayn Rand, I still find it interesting that people take her seriously. I think,
I don't know. There's a lot of people who don't. Like, she's kind of like outsider philosophy, at least in my perspective.
I think like as much as I disagree with like John Oliver's Last Week Tonight from time to time, right? Like when they had this short episode, thing was like, how is this still a thing? Ayn Rand's like, why are we still, out of all of the weirdos who wrote pseudo philosophy in the 1950s, why are we still thinking about Ayn Rand? It's like, what's wrong with our society? We could have all still do like Dianetics, and that would be, well, not better, but
I don't know. I mean, I don't think individual liberty is a bad idea, but when you say that altruism was just made up to, manipulate people and the violating other people's individual rights, that's kind of where you lose me a little bit. Just a tad.
Yeah,
that's why I'm not an objective.
It is essentially taking Nietzsche's slave master dichotomy to the extreme, essentially. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. For a second, I think Lovecraft would be bad at all social media about it, because the thing that
Lovecraft would be like a pinch on, he'd be just like in his corner, No,
Lovecraft would be a really good producer of, say, podcasts or something, because Lovecraft was really good at editing stuff from other people. That was like where his strength was. Like, he knew how to write a really good he knew what made a horror story really good. He just wasn't able to actually write one. That's the problem with Lovecraft. I think like I know there's so much wrong with Ayn Rand, and the not understanding Nietzsche is like, she's not the only person who doesn't understand Nietzsche, or getting Nietzsche wrong is a pastime of so many people. But I think the problem with that specific approach to both Nietzsche and all kinds of other things in that regard is like this idea that that over the top sort of like level of personal competition that you can only sort of like go like, well, this only works if you are already very rich and strong, right? Like that's libertarianism works well for 15-year-olds and people who are already billionaires because they don't have to care. And Ayn Rand is kind of in that,
Also, altruism is not a bad thing, Ayn Rand. Like, come on now. Like,
you just have to understand that it's not effective, which, yes, we all still love the sort of truth. That is
oh God.
Objectively true.
Oh God.
Like,
oh.
It's not the worst book I've ever read. It's not a good book by any
stretch. It's not
stretch.
the worst book I've ever read, but it's not good. It's pretty awful.
What I found interesting, though, was Mark Lawrence, who I really, really don't like, and I don't understand why people like Philip Chase think he's such a great writer. Maybe his books get better, but that, Broken Empire trilogy really sucks. And he had this whole thing where he took a blog post where he took apart the opening paragraph of A Sort of Truth, and I'm like, yeah, and that's why you suck as a writer, because you don't understand that that's actually fine. The problems with Sort of Truth are not the long description of that weird poisonous vine destroy. That's totally fine. But if you think that's what makes the book bad, I don't know. Maybe you should stop writing books and actually start reading some.
I mean, Moorcock did it, and he did it very well. I mean, Stormbringer's awesome.
Yeah.
Though I will say he does get a little too carried away with the Eternal Champion stuff, so your mileage may vary on the Elric series.
Just to go back to books again, not to sound going away from political topics and stuff, but I was just wondering if you had read the Dinotopia books, Britton.
Dinotopia.
By James Gurney.
That sounds familiar. I don't think I've read them though. No.
If it has dinosaurs,
essentially, again, James Gurney. Yeah, he was artist for National Geographic. So essentially, he makes his art is phenomenal. It's sort of it could almost be put on national galleries and so forth, because it is really that good. And one of the fun thing is that it most likely inspired Naboo from the Star Wars prequel movies.
Oh yeah,
because it's very clearly that I think it's
those are some very nice illustrations.
Yeah, it is fascinating. So I think you would love those books, Britton. I might be sending that and a couple of other links to you. Sorry for blowing up your chat there.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's my TBR has been blown up so many times. It's not even funny anymore. It's
what I find interesting is the idea of like a TBR. Is like, why do we build a list of stuff and then go through that list in some weird orders? Like, why do we formalize our reading in these weird ways? And I'm like, no, of course I have.
Ralph,
like this
you're the German guy, making lists.
Yeah, but I'm a really bad.
You should be the one defending this.
I'm a really bad German. I'm really bad at being German. I'm constantly late. I hate rules. The one thing that I might be good at is drinking beer, but that's about it. It's like I'm not good at being German. I'm an anarchist. You know how hard that is in Germany. Speaking of, though, really good German anarchist writer that everyone should know about, Erich Mühsam. Early 20th century poet, activist, killed by the Nazis, did a lot of stuff for the unhoused, or organizing like homes for them to stay in, self-help like that. Openly queer. Yeah, lots of reasons for the Nazis to actually beat him to death in Sachsenhausen.
Yeah.
And as I said, like a really powerful writer. Like there's like lots of poetry and stuff from him that is really good.
A lot of interesting anarchist writers. I mean, my favorite my favorite comic writer is an anarchist. That is Alan Moore, of course.
Yeah.
Who wrote The Great Win, which was a pretty solid I thought, but I had some issue. I thought it was a bit I thought it kind of lumbered a bit. Those parts where they go into the weird magic place and it's like, what the fuck? Like,
I believe the BBC were having a sort of masterclass with.
That's
Alan Moore.
great. If you ever get a chance to watch that, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So,
which one?
Alan Moore's BBC Maestro. It's basically it's basically a masterclass, but Alan Moore's too punk rock to do the actual masterclass, so he does it on BBC, and it's great. You can probably find a clip of it on YouTube.
But that's the thing. You do it on BBC, so it's available to everyone without paying for it, which is, the anarchist way of doing that. It's like, no, I mean, Ursula K. Le Guin, anarchist. J.R.R. Tolkien, anarchist. What?
I was going to say, man,
of a sort.
I don't know if we'll get into the J.R.R. Tolkien. Michael Moorcock, also an anarchist.
Yeah, no, it's a letter that Tolkien wrote to one of his sons. I keep forgetting which, not Christopher.
And John Harrison too.
And where Tolkien writes that he thinks at this point either be a monarchist or an anarchist, and I'm like, now he was pissed off with the politics and it's like, nah, I'm an anarchist. Fuck you.
It's basically like, fuck you.
Obviously, Tolkien would have put it in like much nicer terms, but it is an actual quote of Tolkien's where he describes himself as an anarchist.
Yeah.
No, I mean I don't think I thought Gaiman was more of like a progressive liberal, but I've probably voted Labor would be my guess. Maybe he still does. I don't know. I don't know what he votes.
Yeah. Again, British politics is going to be fascinating for the next coming years.
Wish Aaron was here. He would know. Which Aaron was here. He would know this stuff.
It's like, okay, you're either going reform and you're going full Norse fire here, or they're going for the Greens and
God,
it's going to be fascinating to watch.
Again, I wish Raph wasn't blind because he would love like V for Vendetta. Like he would be all over that book, unless he's already read it or seen the movie. The movie's pretty good adaptation of the book. I know Alan Moore doesn't like it because he doesn't like most adaptations of his work, but the V for Vendetta movie is actually pretty good. So there you go.
I'm very glad that Margaret Killjoy got that blurb from Alan Moore. That's good because Margaret Killjoy, also anarchist. Great writer, also great musician.
I like this. She called herself she was a squatter and a wanderer for a while. But hey, she built a small cabin. That's pretty hardcore, honestly.
Who?
Margaret Killjoy.
Margaret Killjoy, yeah. Also has a band called Feminazgul.
Feminazgul. That's awesome. I'll have to find that.
It's a weird black metal album. It's called "The Age of Man Is Over."
Yeah, no, I not really in the black, though. Some of the black metal lore is pretty crazy. If Varg Vignar,
I guess I am sort of the representative from actually coming from Western Norway, where all that stuff happened.
Where all that stuff went down, yeah.
Again, I on one hand, I would be the worst one to discuss it, but again, it is sort of a tragic story essentially, because it
In a
was
lot of ways, yes.
it is sort of just megalomania and insanity on complete work. Yeah, and again, national treasures and murders that were national treasures that were burned and murders. It's just.
I think it's
Yeah.
It's a weird thing that there's so many weird things coming together with us. You have a lot of people that have lots of like mental health issues and so forth. Like Christian Vikernes was never a very healthy, happy person.
Yeah.
Yeah, he calls himself Vark because he doesn't want to be called Christian because of the name. And like you can see how that stuff sort of like escalates, where you have the so like the media attention. You have a lot of like, obviously you have a very, at the time, still fairly conservative and sort of like structure in parts of Norway, right? Like where there is certainly something you could rebel against.
I come from I mean, this is literally the Bible Belt of Norway. But again, but I can't quite say that it makes sense still from that perspective, because
it takes the wrong direction very quickly, and then you have all that like national and at some point even international media attention, which once again like hypes. And we keep forgetting they were just fucking teenagers at the time, right? Like that, teenagers are not known for their like smart life choices.
I like how one of Margaret Killjoy's stories is literally called "Escape from Incel Island."
Yeah. Her The Sapling Cage, really good book about trans witches.
I'll have to read it. Oh, she likes Elite Extraordinary Gentleman. Very nice, very nice, very nice. And she likes she likes Basleg. Very nice.
Of course,
we're gonna get along famously.
No, but yeah, anarchists make for good novelists, also incredibly quotable. David Graeber, big anarchist, also big Ursula K. Le Guin fan.
It looks like I might have to wrap things up, unfortunately. Yeah. It's starting to get a bit late here.
Well, Matt, it was really nice to see you and talk with you for a while. You should come on again.
Yeah,
maybe I'll get you on my podcast at some point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we have both, whether it's comics or books or films and even philosophy and politics. We could have a quite interesting discussion, definitely. Yeah. So I think I'll just wrap up from here, and I hope you have a nice evening, everyone.
Yeah, take care, Mac.
Yeah. Bye. I mean, bye. I'm definitely going to wrap it up soon as well, because as I said, like not that much sleep.
Yeah, I was about to say you've been cranking it up all night, dude. You might need to take a nap or go to sleep, man.
I was going to say earlier, like, do you have like that tradition of having like a pre-wedding party in your part of the these United States?
They exist, yeah.
Because like the German one is called Polterabend, which is the same word. The Polter is the same one that you also get in Poltergeist, which is one of those fun German words that you guys just took over.
Mm-hmm.
So the tradition is that you meet like before, like the bride and groom and all their friends have a big party, and everyone brings their old crockery table, dishes and stuff like that, and you smash that and create like a huge pile of, potsherds basically, because there's a German saying that those things are it's lucky. Like if you smash it like a glass, it's like Scherben bring Glück, the shards bring luck. So you have that before the wedding. Everyone meets and throws away. They're all on like one big pile and just like smashes it. Which is always fun, right? You hang out with your friends, you get hammered, and you just like destroy a bunch of glasses and cups and plates and stuff. It's really fun.
Yeah, Raph, before you take off, there was that book you talked about those like biker anarchist people. What book was that? Wasn't that Margaret Killjoy?
Nope, that is August Clark's Metal from Heaven.
Oh yeah, that book looked interesting. I'll have to add that to my list. Metal from Heaven. Okay. Oh yes. Okay. I don't know why I thought that was a. Margaret Killjoy. Maybe it's because it's about anarchists. I don't know. I can't tell anymore.
No, I don't think there's an official divorce a party kind of thing. Although I know people who have sort of like made a party when they got divorced. I mean, I just I just organized an epic metal festival, which did very much literally coincide with my divorce at the time. So that was a thing that happened.
I'll have to watch your Great Wind videos. See what you said about it. Maybe it'll. Because I'm hoping to get I Hear a New World next month, because that's coming out next month. So
I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Yes, I want to see where he's taking the whole thing, because there is like I did enjoy the Great Wind, but there is certainly the question of like, so what next, right? Like, where is all of this going? Do you have a point there?
yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah.
I guess we'll find out. I'm going to read Muskism by Quinn Slobodian and Ben Tarnow next, which is coming. I mean, it's been out for a while in print, but the audiobook is coming on Tuesday. So I'm very excited about that. A guide for the perplexed. And, I may be more angry than perplexed, but it's still definitely worthwhile reading, I think. Because Quinn Slobodian generally worth reading. Good guy.
That's some nice art too. Marnie Honeycutt. What a name. I'll add this. Yeah, Discovery is pretty good. I think the first part where they're like discovering what's going on, no pun intended, is the best part. But I think most of it's quite good. It's basically like, oh hey, what if Cthulhu was real?
Yeah, well, haven't we all asked that question from time to time?
Yeah, a lot of people are like, I don't know how to describe this book. I'm like, okay, here's how you describe it, silly. Okay.
Yeah.
Just go, what if Cthulhu was real, and how would humanity react to such a thing? And there you go. If that doesn't entice you, I can't tell you. I don't know what to say if you're not enticed by that. They also had a nice audio
Cthulhu
book.
Is real.
They also had a nice audio book where like 7 people were involved. Like, it was crazy. I'm just like, damn.
For which one?
The Mittens did a
Oh yeah. Oh, that one, yeah.
Discovery has like an audiobook with like 7 people. I'm like, damn, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
But,
well, it is what it is.
Where Cthulhu became Santa Claus for a while. That would be a hell of a story. I want to read that now, Tharno.
I think it works really well. I can see Cthulhu
Spreading Christmas cheer by giving people.
I can see Cthulhu. I can see Cthulhu with like a red hat and everything. It works well,
That's great. I love that. Oh man. Oh man. By
I'm
the way,
saying this as someone who does have a Cthulhu a dice bag and everything.
Which, by the way, you should read Joe's Christmas story from the Hybrid Helix. It's a lot of fun.
I will.
You get to see Santa rant about capitalism. It's great.
I'm still always confused by the Santa thing because I'm German.
Doesn't Santa come from Germany, technically? Or
nope.
Somewhere Germanic?
Nope. So what we celebrate is, of course, on the 6th of December, we celebrate Saint Nicholas Day, which is sort of where Santa then came from. But Saint Nicholas is just a saint. He used to be bishop of Smyrna in what is now Turkey, and that's what happens on the 6th of December. But on Christmas, we the person bringing the gifts on presents on Christmas in Germany, at least, is the Christ child. That's why the Christmas market in Nuremberg is called Christkindlesmarkt. It's the Christ child market. So Santa, not a thing in Germany.
Apparently, August Clark's putting out a new work called
Yes.
Felicity Complex, which I imagine you're excited about if you've heard of it already.
I am definitely excited about it. I have written it down in that list of stuff I need to make sure I get when the audiobook comes out, which is not a TBR. It's just so I remember that there's something coming out that I want to read. Just a list of like upcoming releases, the same way that, they weep, they lie. Oh God, what's it called? They cry. They cry coming out later in, I think, November. Really excited about that one.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you'll like it, John, but I think it's well worth the read.
When you say like you get a tentacle and you get a tentacle and you get a tentacle, that sounds way more like Cthulhu is Oprah Winfrey, which I guess.
Oh well, Tharnell says Krampus came from Germany, so I guess that I guess it makes sense. It was vaguely German sounding. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm being such a dumb American right now.
Yeah, the Krampus thing is interesting in, but it's not, so where I live, he's not called Krampus. Here it's Knecht Ruprecht. But it's like the general thing. So Saint Nicholas has like the guy that deals out the punishment, which is usually chains and stuff. Some people even call him like Kettenhannes or something, which is yeah. So this idea of like both Saint Nicholas bringing gifts and rewarding the good kids and someone else actually there's consequences here, and you just combine that into you get either coal or nothing or something cool. And I'm like, I don't know. bring back the whips and chains. That's how you do proper child education. And but to bring this to an end, Krampus is more a thing from like Bavaria and Austria, so southeast Germany, and it kind of changes when you go to the north or to the east, like northeast Germany. But it's certainly fun. Yes, Christmas is for whips and chains.
I think the popular like American like idea of Santa Claus is kind of made up by American companies, but I think like Santa as like a concept was like I don't want to say it's Germanic, but it's somewhere from that neck of the woods.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Thornell, many good things come from Germany, from Austria. The world's most famous painter comes from Austria, after all.
Oh God. You mean the world's most famous bad painter? Though I've seen some paintings of Hitler, and maybe it's just me being an absolute Philistine. Not terrible, kind of bland though.
I mean, that's the point. It's like, I know people who have gone to art school, and getting into art school is incredibly hard for very talented authors, not authors, like painters. So Hitler not making it into art school does not make him a bad painter. He's just not like one of the 10 people that actually get in.
I didn't think it was awful. Just that was kind of like, okay, yeah, I've seen like dozens of like paintings of buildings, and like, come on, he's no William Blake, is what I'm getting at. Bex on books. I've been reading some of Bex's threads recently, and I'm just feeling awful for her situation. So if we could get some like prayers and thoughts in for Bex, press some F in the chat, that would be great. I'd appreciate that a lot. I'm sure Bex would appreciate that. I don't want to like call her out here, but yeah, I guess that's what I'm doing. I'm sorry. Tharnell asks, have you read the Iron Dream, Raph? I'd be surprised if you haven't.
I am blanking on it. I don't think I've read it. I'm just confusing it, I think, with the Iron Council.
It's the one where Hitler is the
the Spinrad one.
Yeah.
No, I have not.
Where Hitler's a pulp artist.
What? Yeah.
Where Hitler becomes a pulp writer /
Yeah.
artist instead of
No.
in our world.
I have wanted to read that. There is no audiobook, so once again, that's like the thing that has kept me from it so far. But I am aware of it. The sad part about the Iron Dream is, of course, that Spinrad wrote that, and then lots of Nazis thought it was really awesome, and he's like, "That's not my point."
I don't know. I've always been wary of that book because it almost seems like it's a book that's written by someone who doesn't like the fantasy genre, and I'm just like, maybe it's just my preconceptions. I don't know, but I think the whole look how fascist these fantasy tropes are is kind of played out, personally. Which, Raph might go, well, maybe now it does, but then it was pretty radical, which you're probably right, but I'm just saying, I don't know. You can only say this thing is weird and fascist like so many times before you get kind of annoyed with it.
I think it's fine to call fascism weird all the time because
it
needs to be pointed out again and again.
It gets tiresome after a while. Maybe it's just because I'm a white middle class guy, but we'll see. Which, don't get me wrong, fascism is bad, ladies and gentlemen.
Saint Nicholas, as I said, like Saint Nicholas is based on is the Catholic saint Saint Nicholas of Smyrna, who was bishop in Smyrna. That's where the story originally comes from, and where they started celebrating it with the gifts in your stockings, or well, in Germany at least, it's like boots that you fill with gifts and so forth. Where that started, that could be Italy, which makes sense because, as far as I know, the whole Krampus stuff is mostly the part of Austria that is also southern Tyrol, which is obviously part of Italy technically. So that would make sense. And people in Italy believe weird shit.
I guess what I'm trying to say is when you take these kind of concepts like fantasy and you go like, oh, look how weird and fascist it is, it gets kind of tiresome after a while. That's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah. There is an underlying thing with fantasy and fascism that I'd like to make a video on at some point. But it's one of those big projects, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. But there is an underlying idea where you can take certain elements from structural anti-Semitism and the German Romanticism movement, and so forth, that have seeped into fantasy, that are make it very easy to write fantasy that is a fascism adjacent. Let's put it that way. Obviously, you can always do the opposite.
Funny. It's funny you say that, John. I'm sure you would really like the work of George Orwell, because George actually wrote a lot about this actual subject, where, because he basically figured out a lot of the communist intellectuals were out of touch idiots, and he was like, "No, this is how it actually is, people. Like, we got to stop doing this stuff." His essays are really good, is what I'm trying to say.
George Orwell, definitely worth reading. Weird guy, weird politics, but definitely someone who was always 150% behind the thing he believed. Let's put it that way.
Okay, what I mean, John, is you should read more of his nonfiction essays, not just the famous books everyone talks about. Though Animal Farm is great. And they're making a movie out of it again, and it looks awful, and I'm not going to see it because... No. And also, it's misrepresenting what the book was about to begin with. So I'm like, I don't want to watch that. So
it's a farm with animals, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the only thing that's similar about the book in the new movie.
I don't know. I didn't even know they're making a new movie out of it. I think it should get the Walt Disney treatment with everyone having songs and everything. That would definitely add to
But yes, it's funny because George Orwell wrote about this whole thing about how people throw around the word fascism a lot, and it gets thrown around so often the word kind of loses meaning. Which that's kind of an obsession of George Orwell. If you didn't pick up on that in some of his other books, like 1984, for example, about how words have meaning and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, the sad part is that you can go like both directions. Yes, calling everything fascist kind of difficult, but on the other hand, every time someone goes like, "Well, look, the current Trump regime is getting more and more fascist," and everyone's like, "Don't call it fascism." It's like, well, what am I supposed to call it at this point, right?
I
mean,
I often use the term authoritarian populism, but fascism's an easier word, I guess.
looking at the Trump regime right now, you can also call it idiocracy.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Trump is far too incompetent to be a dictator, but I don't want to rehash that conversation.
No, I mean,
Give me
like,
a bottle of Guinness, and we'll probably
yeah.
get going.
No,
Get going
I
on
was
that.
saying, you can be an incompetent dictator. Those two things are different axes, right? You can be bad at being a dictator. That is possible. You're still a dictator at that point.
But but that's the thing. I don't think Trump is really a dictator, because every time he's tried to like seize power, it's just obscenely incompetent.
Yes, I would agree with that. But he's still, or at least the project does want to do that. It's just really bad.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying they're really bad at it.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's
why
like,
I think all the people shouting fascism are kind of jumping the gun there.
no, because fascism is not just when it happens. Like, fucking Oswald Mosley was incompetent and failed, but he was
Well,
still a
that's true.
fascist, right?
Again, I wish Aaron were here. He would probably explain this a lot better than I could. But it's fine. Raph explains it well.
Yes, I want to see Napoleon dance.
I don't know. I'm actually gonna go watch Brian's video about Dear Conservative BookTube, and then tell him why the conservatives nowadays aren't even conservative anymore. It's just a bunch of crazy reactionary people walking around.
I've watched the video. I think Brian's making a mistake in that he assumes good faith on the part of the people that he calls conservative booktubers, which in this case are people like The Second Story, and those are not good faith people. There is no good faith to be had with those people. That's the problem. It's like, there are conservative booktubers out there. There's lots of them, right? People who are conservative in like a traditional sense of the word. That's not the people who call themselves conservative booktubers, though, and that's the problem. It's like, those are right-wing grifters, and you can't have a good faith conversation with a right-wing grifter. That is not possible.
I generally say the term reactionary, but yes, that I don't really think they're even conservative anymore. They're just like
yeah.
They're basically it's basically the John Birch Society has taken over America at this point. That's what's going on. Let's be perfectly blunt here.
I think we should always, when we talk about this, remind people that that the founder of the John Birch Society is also the inventor of the sugar daddy.
Sure. Yeah.
That is the case. Like Robert Welch, founder of the John Birch Society, was obviously creating candies, and the most famous candy of the Welch Corporation was called Sugar Daddy. Obviously, words it did mean something different back then, but Robert Welch, founder of the John Birch Society, is the inventor of the Sugar Daddy.
What I'm trying to get at the end of the day is a bunch of reactionary nut jobs are running the American government, and I think it's clear to say that shit is a literal fucking mental disorder. So, and I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit too semantic here, but again, every time Trump has attempted to turn America into his own fascist junta, it has just been ridiculously incompetent.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, what I am worried about is when like an actual competent person shows up and is like, hey, these are good ideas, we should do this, and then actually does it because the guy knows what he's doing. Yeah, that scares me. Trump does not, because again, Trump's a fucking idiot.
I think yes and no. I agree with you what you're saying, but also at a certain level of power, being a fucking idiot doesn't mean you still can't do untold amounts of damage, right? That's the problem.
For sure. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying the people who are, people who are acting like we're in Nazi Germany at the moment. No, I mean, I'm sorry, Raph. I keep bringing up Nazis, but People act like we're fucking Nazi Germany. I'm like, definitely not. I'm sitting here. Raf's in Germany, so Trump would have to go through a massive effort to fucking black bag him. But we're sitting here talking. I'm not getting black bagged at the moment, so I think we're doing okay. Maybe again, it's a bit too optimistic on my part. Is Trump's authoritarian bent worrying? Oh yeah, it is. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying he's really bad at it. So I don't know why people keep freaking out and think he's going to blow up the world.
Well, he might by accident.
That's true. That is true.
That's like, there's a Terry Pratchett thing where Terry Pratchett says like that if there was a button that says destroys the universe, don't press under any circumstances, it would be pressed before the paint dried. Trump is the kind of person who would press that button.
That is true. I'm not saying, God damn it, I'm trying not to sound like I'm defending Trump here, or that
I know what you're
criticizing him are stupid. I'm saying I think they're jumping the gun a bit. I'm not saying they're wrong in their criticisms. I'm trying not to apply that here.
I know what you mean. It's like he's
just really dumb, is what I'm trying to say.
I think we can all agree on the fact that he's really, really fucking dumb. Although I did still love the fact that he says the Pope is weak on crime. And I'm like,
that's not even the craziest thing. The thing, I hate to say this.
He's weak on crime and nuclear weapons, which are clearly the key competencies of the Pope. That's the job of the Pope, is having positions on nuclear weapons and crime.
I hate to admit this because it's in bad taste. But when he literally, swear to God, said "Praise be to Allah" on Easter, I just cracked up and laughed. I'm like, what fucking planet are you on?
I did love
that's the wrong religion for starters.
What I found fascinating.
Talking about?
What
is he going on about?
I have no idea.
He's lost his fucking mind. I mean,
yes.
Now you're probably like, wow, Britton, you're just realizing that now. I'm not saying that he hasn't lost his mind all the way back, but there are times where you're just like, he has lost his fucking brain.
That is true.
His brain is just short-circuiting at this point, and he might have dementia. So I don't know. That might be the case. That might be what happened. He might have had a dementia episode. Someone needs to take away his cell phone.
I mean, that's generally true. What I found interesting is like the Pope is weak on foreign policy. It's like, well, he's the leader of all Christians in his own understanding, right? He's like what? Who does he have foreign policy? Like, he's in charge of the entire fucking planet. What's the foreign policy of the Pope? Like, with Mars? I don't know. It doesn't make conceptually sense that the Pope has to have a policy. There is no foreign policy for the Pope because there's no foreign for the Pope.
And most people are just like, what is Trump going on about? And that's a very fair thing to go through. And again, Ida, I'm not saying that Trump isn't dangerous. Like, he definitely is. He's definitely awful, and he's definitely doing awful things to my country at the moment that I don't appreciate, which is saying the least. But again, acting like he's the fucking reincarnation of Adolf Hitler is I hate to say this, but that would be wildly overstating it. Yeah. And because at least Hitler was fucking competent, which, again, please do not take that out of context. I'm not turning into Kanye West over here, but
but speaking of like foreign policy, did you know that the moon is in Florida?
What?
Yes.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Raph?
All right, so the moon is part of the Diocese of Miami.
I don't know if I get this.
All right, so the Catholic Church, you have a bishop, and that bishop is like each diocese is like a group of people, like an area, right?
Oh.
And the bishop is in charge of that. Like, you're a bishop of Rome or a bishop of Paris, and then around that area and so forth, right? That's how bishops work. So when the first crewed mission to the moon went, and they had a Catholic on board who wanted to actually celebrate mass on the moon, or at least they needed to figure out which bishop is in charge of the moon. And because, they flew from Cape Canaveral, that's obviously the bishop who's in charge of Cape Canaveral is therefore also in charge of the moon now.
John, here, let me just have you do something real quick. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a real big fan of. I don't really like many of the politicians in my country, but that's beside the point. Here's what I want you to do, John. I want you to find a transcript of one of Trump's speeches. Read it, literally read it, and then come back to me and then tell me what Trump was talking about. I know you're probably being facetious here, but I'm just saying for real. Like go read one of his speeches, then come back to me and tell me what he was talking about. I can guarantee you're not going to give me a good answer. Like I can guarantee you're going to go, I have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Well, he said the Pope was weak on crime.
Well, he did say the Pope was weak on crime, which like that makes no fucking sense.
Also, he's from Chicago. What do you expect?
Oh, God. That's not even the craziest thing he said. There was that one time he said he was wishing the haters a happy 9/11. I'm like, what the fuck even is that sentence? There's so much wrong with that sentence. Why are you saying that like that?
I don't know. I mean, but that's I think that's like the other problem, right? Is with Trump is like that he says these things which are sort of really, really funny in a very dark way, and then he goes like an entire civilization will die tonight, and you're like, right? Where's the difference between him saying something objectively funny and threatening fucking nuclear war? And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of bad when
that was another one where I was like, guys, he's not gonna pull a fucking nuclear war, and everyone's like, oh my God, we might blow ourselves up. Oh God, and I was like, guys, he's not gonna do it because he's not gonna do it, and then he didn't do it. And I'm like, I'm fucking right. What did I say? Not because but deep down Trump is this like negotiating genius, like some of his fucking fans like to say he is. It's just because he doesn't have follow through because he's a fucking moron. Again, he's extremely incompetent.
Yes, but even if you know that he's not going to do it, it is still, a bit of a problem if the guy nominally in charge of the largest, most powerful military in the world.
Yes, it did. There was merch of Gulf of America when I went to Florida last year, or a few months, not last year, 2 months ago. So yes, it is the Gulf of America now, which I don't really give a shit about that. I don't know why he did that, aside from just, I don't know, sticking it to the libs. But that's basically what the Republicans' policy is now. It's basically just sticking it to the libs, which like that's fine, but like that's not a coherent political policy.
No. And if libs would get their shit together, they'd just like start claiming all the things that right-wing people want, and then wait and see how long it takes for the MAGA people to realize that suddenly they have to be, go out and trans the kids because clearly libs are no longer in favor of that.
Oh God, don't get John started on that. But no, it's
too late. I'm definitely going to go.
I'm probably going to take off in a little bit, but it's always fun talking politics. All that fun stuff.
We will see. Anyway, as always, it was fun hanging out. I need some sleep, and we'll see what happens next. And
hopefully you don't blow each other up in the meantime. That would be nice.
Well, I don't get to blow people up because they don't let me have that button for those nukes.
Sleep well, Ref. Really.
Yeah, sleep. Good night, guys.
Anyway, but yes, Tharnell, he really did. The Gulf of Mexico really did become the Gulf of America. I saw merch of it when I was out in Florida. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, I'm probably gonna take off him out. I'll probably stay here for another about 5 minutes, and hang out for a little bit with you guys, but. I don't know. I'm probably going to watch Brian's video, give a very long comment about the things I disagree with him on, and then tell him why the conservative people he's trying to reach out to aren't actually fucking conservatives. But let's not get caught up with semantics. Yeah, no, Trump DC. That would just be ridiculous. Don't give him ideas, Tharnell. But anyway, I'm probably going to take off in a bit. in a minute. Maybe play some Red Dead 2. Which, by the way, if you guys remember, my card got compromised a few weeks ago. I got a new one. And PlayStation banned my old account. Because I guess the fucking Creightons who stole my fucking money wanted to decide to use my old PlayStation account. And I guess they must have said some racist shit or whatever, because they kicked me off of PlayStation. So yeah, whoever took my money and did all that shit, fuck you. And that is really the best I have for today. So hopefully you guys had a good time. I did. Thank you, Mac and Raph, and for joining in. And thank you to everybody who joined in and hung out for a while. I am going to get a drink because my throat is getting dry. I hope everyone's doing well. And next week, I will probably not have one of these because, again, if you recall, StoryTube and I am trying to do a collaboration. They said that they are going to try and do it on Sunday. So probably not going to be doing one next week. So just to let you guys know, if it works out. Maybe if it doesn't, we'll be back on here. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And next time when I come on here, whenever that is, I will see you guys again. So take care, everyone. Till next time.